All right, good morning. All right, hello. Oh, there we go. Hey there, good to see you, Alex. I missed you last time you were gonna join us. Is it all working with the whole transcript and everything? It should be turned on, but let me know. All right. There we go, letting some people in. Cool. Good to know. All right. Hi there. Hi, Susan. And hi, is that Cheyenne or Cheyenne? Oops. Hello?
Hi. No.
Yeah.
Hi, Cheyenne. Yeah. Nice to meet
Cheyenne,
you.
there you go. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I always try to, and there's a bit of a question I try to ask. It's because hopefully we'll get it right, but thanks. So, hey you guys, how are you? I'm expecting a couple more people who might be new to my courses today. So while people are logging in, and then as you know, people will be logging in over the next hour. Let me turn this on here. Okay, there you go. So well, we usually at this beginning, the first class at the very beginning, there's only a few of us, right? But don't worry, the class is full. Not that, don't worry. I mean, it's better for you if there's less people, but the class is actually pretty full. I'm noticing that I have my backlight. Let me turn on my little fill light here because, oh, that almost blinded me. My sun starts streaking in over that window and then I have to compete against it with a little front light. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, that people will be joining us later, but I do expect a few more people. So you're not going to hear like the initial introduction of the class or anything right now. We're actually going to focus more on how the class works and the things you need to know so that when we actually begin with the class, you're up to speed. There's people who take others of my classes and they know this portion, right? So the official introduction isn't coming yet, but let me just say, since I started with pronunciation of names, that my name is Diana, and it's Diana because I'm from Argentina, so I say it in Spanish, but if you say it any other way, it's still okay. I will still respond. But I do need you guys to put your first and last name on your Zoom thing so that I can use that for attendance purposes. The first name that you write can be the name you want to be called because it's not always the same as the one that's on the roster or that's official, but your last name should be there. So if you have a chance to hover over the video of yourself, there's 3 little dots that appear on the top right. Click on those 3 dots and then you can go and rename yourself and then add your last name, the last name that should be on the roster. If you need a hand with that, I can also change it. Actually, I need to pull up the roster so that I would be able to know your last name. I mean, I'm doing that. And the second here we go. And that way I have it handy if it's needed. Perfect. And then, okay, all right. Oh, there, perfect. Now that I look back, everyone's added their last name. So it took me a second and you guys were right on top of it. The next thing that I need everyone to do once you guys sign in the mornings is to, you might have noticed Alex was in one of my classes before and he already knows, he went to the chat and gave a little hey ho. So if you can find the chat button in the bottom, give me a little hi, I'm here. You don't need to actually say your name because it shows up as in, Cheyenne said such and such, Suzanne said such and such, but just add something and have it pop in there. Again, it has to do with attendance and stuff. And then if anything I say, you don't know where it is or where to find, or, my hair is all, I'm sorry, I'm getting a, there we go. If I say anything in these instructions that I don't explain enough, or you don't see enough, or you don't know where to go do it, just please immediately let me know and I'll show you. That's what this is all about. It's to really acquaint ourselves with the tools. So the chat button, you're going to find down in the bottom row of tools, just like the same place where you can mute and unmute yourself. And as you keep going to the right, there's another button there. That's the reactions button. And the reactions button is the one where you can put, the little smiley face. We're going to use that button a ton. And let me explain to you how I'm going to use it. First of all, if you actually have something you want to ask me and I'm in the middle of, talking or explaining and it doesn't seem like the right moment to interrupt me, you're always welcome to speak up, right? But if it's a question in general, then a good thing would be to raise your hand. And when you go to those reactions buttons, and I say raise your hand, most people initially give me a little thumbs up or a little hand clap, which is the top row. But the top row of emojis disappear in 3 seconds. So that's not the ones that we can really use in class. I mean, if you're going to laugh at a joke, go ahead and do a ha-ha, that's great. But the ones I need you to use are the second row and the third row. So the bottom row is the one that says raise your hand. So like Alex already raised his hand, and you might notice that by raising your hand, your video is going to just kind of go up top. So go ahead and raise your hand like Alex did, and whoever raises their hand next is going to go boom, there we go. Cheyenne got put in first now. Alex lowered his hand by click, at this point, which means he is now not there at all. And so did Cheyenne, and now Susan's there. So basically, most of the times what I'm gonna request is if I say raise your hand for something, don't lower it again until I have answered your question, because it might take a few minutes to get to it. And then if there's 3 people waiting, I'll start answering left to right, like, okay, first, last, second. So that one you might have used before, but the ones that I'm going to use a ton are the red and the green round circles. The red check mark would mean no many times, and the green check mark many times means yes. So yeah, Alex. He's writing, Alex is writing his question here so that I can pay attention. Okay. Okay, that's great. So I see that, Alex. So when you raise your hand, if it's usually I won't answer immediately. Usually I'll be in the middle of something. And then by the time I get around to seeing, okay, now who's next? Alex, and I say your name, I'll know that it might take you a little bit to get your question asked. Maybe I can also proceed and ask, hey, someone has a little quick question. And then by then you might have had time enough to write the question. Or you don't really need to only ask me a question when I call your name. You could also just write something in the chat when you have a question, right? This is for everyone. And then again, once I, finish my sentence or whatever I'm doing, I'll take a peek at it and then I'll answer that question. So that's another way to reach out to me. Now, yeah, thanks for writing. It's not that it's rude to interrupt, but there's 2 kind of questions. There's a question that's, oh, can you repeat that again? Did you say right or left or something like that? You can just speak up and say that, right? But if you can't speak up, you might need to write it there. I might not notice it immediately if it's written, right? So in your case, Alex, if you're writing something there that I need to see kind of immediately, because otherwise you don't know how to do the next step, you can also raise your hand to warn me to go look at the chat. Does that make sense? In particular, because Alex isn't going to be able to, raise his voice to say that, but the rest of you guys can just say, oh, can you say that again? But But it's more like if I'm explaining something and you suddenly have a thought, well, how would this work on something else, right? And then you can write that question in the chat, or you can raise your hand and then kind of wait a little bit until I call you. It won't stop you from doing your next step if I don't answer you immediately, if your hand is raised, right? Versus if it's like, I can't proceed if you don't say yes or no to this, then you can just speak up about it. Does that make sense? You'll see how it works. It's pretty natural. I don't want to get into the weeds about this. So basically, the main request I have is don't hesitate to speak up and ask questions, because one of the things that I'm actually really good at, I need to say that, and that people take my classes because I really sit there and explain things to the point that you get it. And I'm not the kind of person who talks over everything and then hopes you get it. I will help you. I will support you until you get it done, because everyone who is in class, I'm hoping that by the time they're out of here, the end of the day, the end of the class, they were able to do whatever it is that I asked them to do or showed them how to do. So I provide a lot of hands-on support, and that hands-on support, in part, first I'm going to model, I'm going to share my screen, and then expect you to do it on your own. So it's not like a watch me class. It's a definitely watch me while you do class. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about getting the programs and all that. But the first thing that I need to say is that when you get stuck and you tell me how you're stuck and I can't help you figure it out with words, then I'll just say, okay, well, share your screen. I'll see what's happening and I can immediately go, oh yeah, do this, do that, right? And then you're stopped. So sharing your screen is a big part of today. So the next thing I want to know is, have you ever shared your screen? If so, and here's how I'm going to use the yes, no, we're only 4 of us, you can just speak up. But when it's a big class, I'm going to be saying to the whole group, let me know if this or that, give me a yes or no, and then I'll just see all the hands appear as a group answering. So anyway, so if you have ever shared your screen during class, please give me a yes. If you've never shared your screen during class, please give me a no. In those little reactions, red check button is no, and green one is yes. Okay, and then I see that you have a question there, Alex. Let me see. Do you have an in-class component for this class like last time, or is everyone joining in remotely? Thanks. No, the class you took before was a HyFlex class, Alex, where some people were at school and some people were at home. This class is purely remotely on Zoom, so everyone's at home. Yeah, I'm here in my living room. I don't have my separate office, so what you see is what you get. I've been doing this for 3 years now. That everyone, my house hasn't grown in 3 years. Pandemic started, and I never grew an appendage office, right? So I'm still in my living room. But it works out. Kids are at school and stuff like that. All right, so I'm seeing that Susan and Cheyenne, you're both saying you haven't shared your screen yet. I don't know about you, Alex. So go ahead and say yes or no if you shared your screen. I believe you might have with me. But so since that is a big component, I'm going to walk you through how to share your screen right now, so that when it's time and you're stuck and I say share your screen, you're ready, you're set to do it. Because once you're set to do it, it takes barely a second, but the first time might take a little bit to figure out how to do it. The first thing I'm going to do before I ask you to share your screen is I'm going to share my screen now, so that you can see what happens to your screen, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. And I'm going to hold on, because I have, you don't need to see this yet. You'll see this in a minute. So, oh, how interesting. I'm going to share my screen. And what you're going to see is me teaching. Oh, funny. What you're going to see, this is a photo of me teaching in class. I haven't been there for a while. That's my desktop picture. It changes every few minutes, but it's sometimes it shows my family, sometimes it shows my kids, and now it's showing me teaching. So, all right. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to meet you. I happen to be sharing my screen right now. So you're kind of, the first thing you see is a big old desktop. But the reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to get accustomed to how people need to set up their screen during class. Because when I shared my screen, probably what happened to you guys is that your screen got filled up. Like boom, filled up with my photos, right? With my background. And what that means is that you can't work on the computer on your own if my screen is taking up your whole computer. And this class, as I said, is one where I'll be showing you something, and then at the same time, you will be doing it. It's like a live class, right? So the only way you can do this is either by sharing this one screen where half of it has Zoom and half of it has you doing your work, or the easiest way, if any of you guys have a second screen or a second computer or an iPad, right? Like another device, then you can join with the Zoom twice. You'll see that quite a few people join the Zoom twice. And then on one, you just watch me do it. And on the other one, you do the work, right? So if you do have a second device, that's probably what I recommend, but not everyone has a second device or monitor. So for people who don't have a second device or monitor, if you do have one, just go get it. Come and bring it next to you. Do that right now, right? But if you don't have one, then the first thing you need to do right now is hit your escape key. Go to your keyboard, and top left is an ESC key, which is the escape key. Hit that one. Once you hit that key, what happens to your Zoom, even if it might not visibly have changed much, is that it's kind of disconnected from the edges. For some of you, it suddenly got small, but for some of you, nothing much changed, but it has disconnected from the edges. So at this point, take your mouse to the farthest corner of the place where you see me talking, you know, the black edges of the Zoom box. When you see it turning into a double-headed arrow, grab that and drag it in so that it only occupies half of your screen. If that is something that works for you successfully, I'm clearing your feedback from before. And once it's working and you got that handled, then give me a green check mark. Yes, Stephanie, I was showing people how to go to the reactions and answer things. If you know where that is, go ahead and do it. If not, okay, great. Now, Cheyenne, I think you kind of give me a thumbs up when I talked about another device or monitor. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
I have a second monitor.
Okay, so if that's what you're gonna go do, then go ahead and set yourself up. And Alex, your hand is up. How can I help? More classes of me teach. I have these like photos that scroll back and forth, and it so happens that you are seeing me if I were in school. So I'm going to stop my share right now, since those of you who have to do that have said yes. And okay, Alex, you were wondering, since Windows and Mac have different operations, how do you do the two? Okay, is it all Mac, Windows? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to speak to that. First of all, you can take the class no matter if it's a Mac or a PC. The Adobe programs, which we're going to be using, function almost identically. When there's any difference, I'll be telling you. And in fact, one of the questions I'll be asking at some point, not yet, is, I'm going to wait until more people are here, is who is on a Mac, who's on a PC, and that kind of thing. And then I'll address that whenever there's a change. But yeah, you can use either system. Now, I happen to be on a Mac computer. And when I demonstrate things, I'll probably be connecting to VDI. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And then I'll be able to demonstrate on a PC as well. So I'll have both running to demonstrate. You guys have whatever you have. Okay, so hi there, Norma. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm running through the different things that I do, and I believe you've been in one of my online courses already, Norma. So I think that you're fine with this, but don't hesitate to ask me if one of these things doesn't sound like it's workable. So I was just asking everyone to use the reactions buttons to respond to me. So if you know where they are and you see them, please give me a yes, Norma, just so that I clarify that it's going. And there you go. The thumbs up is not the thing I need, because it disappears in 3 seconds. Like right now, to tell me, give me old yes, that worked. But when I have 30 people and I'm asking who's on a Mac, who's on a PC, it doesn't work if you give me one of those things that appear and disappear. So what I need is you to use only the green check marks or the red nose. So let's try that. If you have a Mac, can you give me a green check mark? If you have a PC, give me a red circle, a red X, right? And they are right below the place where you raised your thumb, Norma. And so if what's happens is when I have, a bunch of people here, even if you think I should know the answer, I still want you to give me that answer, to say yes or no. Because if not, what I end up doing is I go, okay, whoever didn't answer, I stop and I say, if there's a no, I'll support them. But if you didn't answer, I'll say, hey, Norma, did you not understand whatever feature I just told you to do or activity I told you to do? Do you need help with that? Or did you just not answer yes or no, right? So Norma, are you able to find the reactions button where you raised your thumb? Do you see how right underneath that you should see a red X or on the left side, or a green check mark for yes, or a red X for no? Do you see those? Some Zoom versions have them somewhere else.
I only have the ones on the chat.
Ah,
This-
all right. So then those are not, that's probably an older
Yeah.
version of Zoom then.
Okay, then I
yeah.
have to update this version, I guess.
But even in the older version of Zoom where they were in the chat area, I believe there was a red or a,
Yeah, I remember those, but I don't see them.
yeah. So then until you upgrade your Zoom version, go ahead and when I say give me a yes or no, just go ahead and speak out loud your answer to me, or
Okay.
write it in the chat. But if you write it in the chat, I won't see it immediately and I'll go, Norma, is that a yes or no? And so then you can say, oh, I put it in the chat, or you can just say yes or no, right? At this
Okay.
point. And then when you upgrade your Zoom, you'll see that it'll appear there. Yeah, they changed the position of where those things are. So there's one other option. If you have a very small monitor that you're working on and your Zoom is very small, there's the possibility that a lot of those tools that you see in the bottom get compressed and you'll see 3 little dots. And so when you click on those 3 little dots, you might find the reactions under that menu. So if that's your situation, check that out. Okay. The next thing that I wanted to say, I believe you probably, Stephanie showed up a little bit after I mentioned it. I need y'all to go to the chat and give a little hello when you show up, like a little attendance thing of I'm here. Or you can also use that to say, ask a question, or make a comment on something that you worked on during the week and you have a question about it, etc. So it's just kind of an attendance thing and an opportunity to ask things while people are joining us. And now sometimes I'm going to ask you if you raise your hand to lower your hand and stuff like that. But sometimes when I've got my answers, like right now, everyone said yes, which means I believe I had said yes for Mac, no, red for PC. So Norma, are you on a Mac or on a PC?
PC.
Okay.
Sorry, I have my mic off because they're working outside.
Of course, no problem. I know
Frustrating.
that I can see when the mic turns off, so I can see you're trying. Now, if sometimes though, if the computer monitor, the video is off and I don't hear your answer, I might not know if you asked the question, so I might ask again while you're working on getting unmuted, right? But that's fine. All right, so so I've cleared your answers, and now the next question that I asked at the beginning, but a couple of you just joined us, and so give me an answer again. Have you ever shared your screen during a class before? And I believe 2 of you had said no. Again, don't give me a thumbs up, give me a yes or a no, that way I can see it stay, because then I can get a gander at what the whole class is doing. Cool. So Cheyenne, you had said no, I believe, in the past. And Norma, have you shared your screen in class before?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for Cheyenne and for Susan, I'm going to run you through the steps so that you practice it now. That way, when you're in class, it's a seamless thing. And you both said you're on Macs. And when you're on a PC, it's one of the few things that is easier on a PC than on a Mac, because PCs aren't so careful about your privacy and they just let you share. But the Mac, when you try to share your screen for the first time, it makes you go to the system preferences and uncheck and sign in and stuff like that. So I'm going to start with one of you guys. Either one, who wants to go first? Both of you are going to have to run through it. So Susan, Cheyenne, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so Susan, go down right next to where you saw the chat button is the big old is the green button that says share screen. You see that one?
Yes.
Okay. Now you need to talk me through the steps so that I know what you see, okay, and what you don't see. So once you click on that one, there's
Mhm.
a second button, and in the future, that's all you need to do. But the second button is on the right side bottom, and it's a blue button with white letters that says share again.
There. Okay.
Now, when you click on the second share, in the future, it'll just share your screen. But right now, you probably got a message saying, oh, well, there you go. You've already somehow have given
Oh,
permissions.
did it work? Okay, good.
So it worked. There you go. That one was easy. Sometimes it gives you that. So now there we go. Perfect. I'm stopping your share. That's it. That's how easy it'll be in the future to
Okay,
share.
good.
Hopefully everyone's is as easy as this. Let's see, Cheyenne, would you give it a try now? Can you click the share screen button, please?
Sure, yeah. So let's see, I'll share.
Oh, my goodness. It's happening too. It's easy for everyone. It's taking a little bit longer to get it, but there it is. Yeah. By the way, you can close this window that says thank you for attending the meeting. Once you're connected, you don't need it anymore. So perfect. Well, that was simple. You both didn't have to deal with all of the privacy passwords and stuff. So good. There you go. So now everyone should be ready to share their screens. As I said, and I'll do that when whatever you're coming across is not clear enough for me to understand what to tell you to do. And then I'll say, okay, just share your screen, because then as soon as I see what's happening, I can go, oh yeah, okay, do this, do that, do that. So a lot of people at this point, I really need you to know that a lot of people hesitate because they prefer not to ask in case I tell you to share their screen. And the whole point is, think about if you're in a real class, I'd be walking behind you, I'd be seeing your problem, I'd be telling you. So the fact that others will see your screen is only actually going to enrich the experience, because probably what you're happening has happened to someone else, and they get to just solve it many times. 3 people are raising their hands, and then I explain it to one person because they shared the screen, and the other 2, oh yeah, that was happening to me too, they got it. And then, the class moved forward. So really don't hesitate to share your screen, because it takes longer to have you be 10 steps behind trying to flutter around and figuring out how to do it.
Sorry, I just wanted to test to make sure mine worked too.
Oh,
So-
there you go. Actually, you do, wait, but you do have the screen recording thing. And so go ahead and say open system preferences. Go into that. Yeah, click on that one. You do have one of the, and it's going to open your system preferences.
Okay.
Then go over there and to the bottom left and check on the unlock and put in your computer password, or put in your finger if you do the fingerprint thing.
Okay.
And then, but the check mark is on. So that's interesting, because it should have been checked, but yours is on. So oh, there you go. That's what I would have told you, is to check that thing. So
Okay.
you can close that now, and yeah, you're fine. You're sharing.
Yeah.
So great. Cool. Now, back to my point is that some people hesitate, but I assure you that it's much faster to help you in the moment. Quick share back and forth than to be far behind. And my goal is that you really follow along with the class and don't get left far behind. So anytime you're stopped or hesitate, a lot of times you can just ask me and I'll answer without having to share your screen. But sometimes I'll say share your screen, and then just my request is that you just do it. All right. And my other request is that you please ask when you're stumped or stopped or, in trouble. Especially since I can't see what's happening, it's even more frustrating for you to be in trouble and me to keep on blathering, because then you miss out on whatever else I'm saying, because you're still stopped at the first point. So really do interact with me during the class. All right. Now, the basic Zoom stuff is this. We've handled it. The next thing is the actual applications that we're going to learn. how many of you guys have a current subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud, and thus you can use programs like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Bridge, which are the 4 main programs that we're going to be using. So if you have it installed on your computer and ready to go, give me a yes. If you don't have it and have no way to install it, then give me a no. Okay, Norma, I got your written answer. That's a no. Alex and, okay, great. Stephanie and Susan do not have it, but now I'm gonna show you. So, yay. Oh, you do have one of them. You have InDesign. Interesting. Most people don't have only one program. Is it actually a current program or is it an old one that you might have?
I think it's a current one.
Okay. Do you actually pay for a monthly subscription or something like that
Yes.
for one program? Okay. And the reason I'm hesitating is because for the most part, paying for one program tends to be about as expensive as paying for the whole subscription. So it does
Right,
happen
no,
that
that's-
some people have one, but it's rare. And that's why I just wanted to clarify.
That was the
'cause-
only one I needed and only knew how to use, so. I was-
Got it. Yeah. So it makes
But now
no
I'm gonna
sense.
look into it and maybe get the whole.
Yeah,
deal
yeah.
that it's
No,
gonna
I
be.
mean, it makes sense. And yet, once you know what the others do, suddenly it makes more sense
Right.
to keep going, right?
Yes.
So,
that's why I'm here.
yeah, exactly. So, I'm going to clear your answers because I'm seeing now that 3 of you guys don't have it. So I'm gonna show you the options that you have. One is to purchase it at the lowest ever price available, because I will show you how to get it through a community college kind of foundation issue that gives us really good prices to any California community college California student, which would cost you $40 for 6 months total, not every month, but total $40 for the whole 6 months, or $80 for a whole year worth of Creative Cloud subscription. Now, if you pay as a regular student, you go to Adobe and pay for a student, it's either $19.99 a month or $29.99 a month, depending on how you sign up. If you pay without being a student, it's like $50 a month or something like that. So $40 for 6 months, or $80 for a year is ridiculously cheap. If your computer can handle installing the systems, then you need to have, if you're on a Mac, you need to have a computer that can be upgraded beyond Catalina, or I believe up to Catalina. I'm trying to remember. So if it's an older computer and you can't upgrade your operating system anymore, it won't be able to install the newer versions of Creative Cloud. So then don't bother purchasing it until you upgrade your computer. And the PC, on the other hand, it might be slower or whatnot, but the operating system, as long as you have a Windows 10, which has been around for many years, you should be able to install it if you have Windows 11 as well. You can't install it if you are on a Chromebook. None of you mentioned that you're on a Chromebook. So let me show you the choice of purchasing it. And then plan B is you don't purchase it and you use it for free through a VDI connection to the school. So first, let me show you the way to purchase it for those of you who are going to go ahead and sign up. Now, I'm just opening Firefox here. You can use it in any browser. And go ahead and type, I'm going to put here in the chat, I'm putting the, hold on, it's trying to correct my spelling because it thinks it's not a word. We're going to go to collegebuys.org, and that's not a link that I gave you. It's just the words. I didn't actually put a link in there. So you need to spell out collegebuys.org. I noticed that when I put a link, then later people forget how to get there. So I'd rather you type it in. That way you'll remember, because those people then go, oh, I couldn't get in because it was .com or .edu. This is actually .org. Once you get in here, you'll see that it says Foundation for California City Community Colleges. This is the place where you need to buy something, but proving that you're a student. So you're gonna have to go down to this little symbol, this column that says for students, and you're gonna click on shop now. And then when you get in here, you can buy a bunch of different applications here, but if you need any other application and you're a student, you can do that. And by the way, being a student lasts beyond you being in class, right? So just because you buy it now doesn't mean that it stops working when the class is over. You can use it for the entire 6 months or the entire year that you purchased it for, okay? Next year, you want to purchase it again, just take another free non-credit class and there you go, you're still a student. So basically you just need to be a student in one class per semester to be qualified to purchase this program. So you're going to click on something like order now or whatever. So say that this is what you're going to purchase, click on that. And it's going to take you to a place where it says, well, you kind of need to be a student. So it says select your school to see if you qualify. So head down to like Santa Barbara City College and choose that. So like you can't purchase this if you're not a community college student, right? So anyway, then it lets you buy either 6 months for $39.99 or 12 months for $78. So say that you go for the $39.99. I'm going to click on the buy now. And I'm walking you through this because I want you to be clear about how to do this. You must use your EDU email, right? So what's your EDU email? Well, your pipeline username. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please ask me. I'm putting the example here, but I know what your username is. I don't know your passwords, but I know your username, so I can tell you what it is. At pipeline.sbcc.edu. I just put it on the chat. That's your school username. Some people like, yeah, okay, I knew it. And some people, this is news because they've never used their school email. So username at pipeline.sbcc.edu is the email you need to use to purchase this because you're going to say, yes, my college is there. I'm a student. And then when you try to buy it, again, you have to select 6 or 9 months or 6 or 12 months or whatever. So you choose that. And then when you go to purchase it, it's the only caveat with this is because it's so cheap. It's not as simple as purchase, download, install, which if you were to pay the high price, it would be. Once you put in your credit card and purchase, then it might take 2 to 5 days before they get back to you, depending on how long it takes them to verify that you're a student. Sometimes it's over the weekend, but they will answer to your pipeline account because that's the email you gave them, right? So you have to check your pipeline account. And at some point you're going to get an answer saying, yay, you're qualified. So great. Follow these instructions to download and be very careful with those instructions because there's one particular thing that you need to be very sure to do, which is you follow the instructions. You have to do some steps and da-da-da-da-da. And then at one point you'll be asked by Adobe, is this a school account or a personal account? Since people put in their pipeline address, they feel they need to put in a school account and then that messes it up completely. They might take weeks to clean it out. This is a personal account. You need to say personal, but the instructions even say that, but sometimes people skip that. So that's why I'm verbally really making a point about this because too many students have gotten in this nightmare of taking weeks between college buys and Adobe trying to figure out how to change it because this is not a free school account. You are paying for it. You're paying very cheap, but you are paying for it. It is your account. You're just using your pipeline email to prove you're a student, but it is a personal account, okay? Once you do that correctly, you should be able to install it and there you go. You've got that's there. Then you download the programs that you need. It's a bunch of programs inside of the Creative Cloud. I need you to install for this class 4 of them. Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and Bridge. Okay, so Cheyenne, if you already have them in your computer, you might not have Bridge. A lot of people go, Bridge, what's that? So if so, while I'm talking and showing people all of this, go ahead and head over to your subscription and download Bridge, okay? Because we will be using Bridge and I'll tell you what it's all about. Good. So unless there's any questions about how to do this, I'm going to explain Plan B, which is what you probably need to do today, because today you won't have the applications and those of you who choose not to buy it, which you're fine not to buy it, you will have to do for the entire class, which is to use VDI. So in order to get to VDI, I'm going to have you guys write, and this one you can actually click on the link that I'm putting in there, or I'm going to do both. I'm going to write vmview.sbcc .sbcc.edu. So that's what you would have to write, or there's the actual link. You can just click on the link and you'll end up in this page. But in case you need to practice at home and you want to know how to get back to VDI so you can access the programs, that's the address you need to access, vmview.sbcc.edu. So at this point, other than Cheyenne and Norma, which, no, not Norma, just Cheyenne. Everyone else here has to be on VDI right now because everyone else said no. You have InDesign, but since you need the rest, you're still going to have to do this through VDI. Once you're on this page, now, since everyone has to do this except for Cheyenne, I'm going to show you step by step, and I want you to do it at the same time as me. And I'm going to say, okay, when you get to this page, give me a yes, so I'll continue, right? In case you're one of the steps you're not, you can't follow, then I'll stop and give you a hand. So if you're at this page, give me a little yes, and then I'll move forward. What is VDI? It stands for virtual desktop interface. The whole point, it doesn't matter what it stands for, is that what you're going to do is we're going to click in here. So let's go ahead and click on the right side of this. Let me just say that if you're going to consistently use VDI, meaning you're not going to buy the applications, not today, but in the future, like outside of class tonight to this afternoon, go back here and then click here to download the VMware Horizon client, install the application in your computer, and then it runs a bit more smoothly, so that in the future you just open it from there. But for now, we're going to click here on the Verizon HTML access, and it's going to take you into the SBCC pipeline sign in. I'm going to clear the feedback again. Go ahead and sign into your pipeline account. If you do have any issues with connecting to your pipeline account, I cannot help you with that. But in the email that I sent you, the first email that I sent you, a long list of instructions. In the bottom were all the instructions how to get help from SBCC student IT tech support, and they can help you with pipeline account issues. You're going to need it, even if you have the applications, even if you don't need VI. You're going to need it anyway because you have to get the handouts and all of that using your pipeline account, okay? All right, so if you're all here, now we're gonna go to student desktop and click on that. This step is gonna take a little bit of time. It takes a while. We're gonna see a blue screen for quite a while before we finally are going to see a Windows screen. Most of you guys are Mac users, and what we're going to be is in the school computer. So this process that we're doing right now is basically as if we were jumping into our car or into the bus or walking to school and opening up a computer in a computer lab at school. What I mean is it won't have your stuff in it. It is truly a remote computer that you're accessing with all the applications installed because you're accessing an SBCC remote computer, okay? So for those of you who are going to continue using VI for the rest of the class, just be aware that it's not like you're going to be able to upload your own photos and stuff like that easily. You're going to have to go through pipeline. I'll show you how to do that if you want to keep using it that way. Stephanie, yeah.
What did you click there? Sorry, I was on the page and then I didn't see.
Student desktop.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
That's good. By the way, it's fine to raise your hand, but if you're going to be left behind, if I don't see your hand, it's fine to just speak up and say, hey, what did you say to click again? Like, you know,
Okay.
don't feel that you have to always raise your hand because I have 3 monitors here and your hand might be over there when I'm on here. So then you're being
Okay.
held, you're being held back by not asking. So at that point, go ahead and ask me.
Thanks.
All right. So, cool. Once you are here and Windows is opening, you gotta wait for a little bit. And finally, after a bunch of crunching, your computer is gonna pop into this thing that says sign into Google Drive. Once you get to the sign into Google Drive, give me a yes, so I know that we can proceed. There we go. Cheyenne's back. I think she was installing programs. There you go. So give me a yes once you get to the Google Drive. You know what I'm noticing? My coffee is in the kitchen. Give me a sec. I need to run to get my coffee. All right. I am back with caffeine in my system about to be ingested. All right, let me see. Alex, did you make it here to the Google Drive page? And Norma, did you get to the Google Drive page? I'm seeing a
Yes.
yes, but I'm not sure. Okay, got it. Since I
Yes.
wasn't here when you wrote yes, I couldn't tell if it was from before or after. All right. Which, by the way, you joined us after we were practicing sharing your screen. So Norma, don't forget that I need to still make sure that you can share your screen. I want to make sure that it's working for you. All right. So Alex, I don't see your answer. Are you here? Did you make it to the Google Drive window? I'm checking the chat and I'll keep going, but I'll keep my eye on the chat and let me know if you're having a problem or can't get there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to sign in with browser. This is what's going to let us get the class files and stuff like that. So click on sign in with browser. And here you need to put your entire pipeline email address, not just your username. Okay. So we're going to do that. And remember, your user address looks like that. So I'm going to go, I put it in the chat. So DE Musakio is my username at pipeline.sbcc.edu. And then once you've done that, you can say next. And there's one more. Some people might not see this. It might be below the stream. I need to roll up to it, scroll up to it, and then you can say sign in. Okay, so depending on the resolution of your screen, you might need to scroll and say sign in. Once you see the success, you've signed into the Google Drive, give me another yes, so that I'll know. I saw, by the way, Alex, that you said yes now. Over here, it'll see that it says Google Drive is ready, is loading your files. Once this is where you're at, give me another yes. I'm just trying to keep everyone moving forward at the same speed. Okay, give me, for some people, it takes a little bit longer to load depending on computer speed and Zoom and whatnot, and that's why. All right, cool. Yes from Susan, yes from Norma, yes from Stephanie. Cheyenne isn't doing that, and Alex, let me know if you're here. Okay, once you're here, you can close this window. We don't need it anymore. Viewer signed in. So click on this little X and you are on a Windows computer. It's actually easier if you're a Mac user because then you clearly can see that this is not your computer. When people who are on a PC, now you have a PC window inside of your PC window. And so for some people, it's a little bit more confusing. Just remember that when I say go down to the toolbar to go to the one that's on top and not underneath, because the underneath one is your real one, and then this was your real one, your virtual one, right? Let me let Monica in. Just popping in. All right. It's probably time for people to start showing, more people to start showing up. So, hi, Monica. Interestingly enough, it's not a name that I see a lot, but there's 2 Monicas in this class, in the roster. So yeah, there's Moni. Okay. So the other one usually calls herself Moni. So I've had sometimes, once I had, someone had a very unusual double name, like, I don't know, Jessie Lynn, or, you know, I don't remember what it was, but when I had 2 of those in the same class, that was weird. That was really strange. Most of the times it's more like I'll get, you know, 2 of a more traditional name, but your spelling is different this time. Now, can you go to the chat and change, rename yourself with the 3 dots to add the little, to add your last name to your byline, please? All right. Cool. Let me see, Alex. Okay, I see your note. Perfect. That's great. See you when you are able to join us again. This class goes till 12:20. I'm teaching 5 new classes this week, and so I was being reminded this one goes until 12:20. So anytime you can pop back in, do it, and if not, I'll see you next week. Let me just say something before you go. This class, I forgot to mention it, you might have noticed though, because you got the warning that this class is being recorded. So if you are going to miss a part of the class, you have a, you know, plumber arrived, or you're going to be late, or you're going to leave early, the commitment, given that the classes are recorded from you, is that you must watch the recording. So you can scroll up to the last, you know, half hour that you missed, or see the first part, or if you missed the whole day, you have to see the whole thing. But you cannot, unfortunately, take the entire class just by watching the recordings. This is funded for free as a non-credit course, but the only way that this class gets the college gets reimbursed by us teachers showing that people have attended class, and you can only be giving an attendance if you're actually in class. So say that there's a day that you just watch the recording, that's fine, you missed class, because hey, sometimes you need to miss class, but that day I can't record your attendance, and so that day I can't, the school doesn't get paid for you, so to say, right? Just to clarify what's happening. So if there's a day that you can't make it, at least if you can join into the chat, even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 minute, and that way the process is registered that you attended, because your name goes into the rosters that you've attended. Then as long as you watch the recording, I can then say that you've attended, right? Because you fulfilled that. So even if you can't attend, you're traveling, even on your phone, just try to connect during the course of the class for enough time that then at your leisure, you can watch the recording. But then you also have to prove to me that you've done the work, and I'll show you that we're going to have a place in a Padlet where you're going to post your work. And so then you can show me that you did the work for the class, then yay, I'll just give you attendance for that day. We get paid, you get the learning. And when the best thing is that when you join us the next week, I don't have to go back and repeat everything because you're caught up. Okay. So basically, yes, it's okay to miss a part of it, but you got to be caught up. All right. Cool. Back to VDI. Monica, I know that you have the application, so you're fine. I'm almost at the point where I'm done explaining this. Once you're here, we're going to go to this little 4 window icon. That's the Windows Start icon. Click on that one. And here's all the applications installed on this computer. We are going to be using Adobe Bridge and InDesign, as I said, Illustrator and Photoshop. So let's start by opening Adobe Bridge. We're not going to immediately start using these, we're gonna do the formal introduction once everyone else joins us and all that, but just to get going, because once you open one of these programs, the first time you open it, you're gonna have to sign into Adobe. Now, I'm not gonna get that window because I've opened these programs before. This only happens the first time you connect to Adobe. So once you've connected, it's just going to let you in. So today, once you see the sign in to Adobe, you need to sign in once again. Yes, you guessed it, with the entire username, pipeline, password. So go ahead and once you, if this is the first time you connect to the Adobe programs on VDI, go through the process of putting in the whole user pipeline, and then you'll be fine. And then that's as far as we're going to go with this until everyone else who's in class joins us. Okay. I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to wait. Let me not disconnect, clear your feedback. There we go. And I'm going to ask you to give me a yes. Once you got here, you've opened one of the programs, you signed into Photoshop, to Adobe, and you're able to open Bridge. It's going to look different than mine right now. Don't worry, we're going to get to that. But as long as you got Bridge open and it's all working, give me a yes. Okay. Now, here's an example of Monica's connecting with her second screen right now. And you'll see that people who've been in my class before finagle some way to get one of these. You can, I mean, you can go to the thrift store and buy a second monitor for cheap and then just connect it with a cable to your existing computer. There you go. You have two monitors. And now you can have one where you watch me gaggle at you and the other one where you do the work, right? So you don't necessarily need an entire new computer. But if you do have two computers, like another computer or an iPad or something like that, then you'll have to connect twice, just like Monica did here. She's connected with one and another. Now, why? Because on one, you're going to watch me. But if you run into trouble and you need to show me your work and you didn't connect with your second computer, then you can't share your screen, right? So that's why you need to be able to have both computers connected if you're using a second computer, one to watch me and one to actually be able to do the work without having to share your screen. Now, here's Saul. Meanwhile, Norma, do you want to practice sharing your screen so that I can see that it's all working? Because I think you're the only one who didn't do that yet. All right. I think, okay, perfect. It's working. Awesome. Great. That is great. Hi, Saul. Nice to see you. Well, not to see you, but to see your name, to have your presence in class. Saul, you guys, there's some people who come to class with no knowledge at all, and some people who come with a lot of knowledge, and some people who are somewhere in between. There's a wide variety of experience in my classes. And don't worry, it's going to work for all of you guys, because there's going to be golden nuggets everywhere, even for the most advanced people. And there's going to be a lot of learning for the people who've never done any of this, right? So it's, all my classes constantly have many leveled peoples, and a lot of people take the class repeatedly. And I was about to talk about Saul, well, some of you guys already know from other classes, like Monica, who's taken a few of them now. So in particular, I want you guys to speak up to the fact that when you are taking these courses for the first time, it's a lot, right? And so my request is, don't get frustrated. Just be with whatever. I am usually going to talk to that level of, you're all beginners, but I will consistently be saying things that maybe only people who are more advanced will catch. And it's okay. It won't be crucial to the process. It's just that I'm giving things to some people that are more advanced. And Saul, for example, he's always presenting some amazing illustrations. He's pretty advanced in this, but he keeps attending because there's always something there that he keeps growing and moving forward with, right? So when I search certain things like, hey, this is just for those of you who can handle it, if not just ignore it, I truly mean that. Don't try to then do that hard thing and discover that you can't do it because you're trying to do something that's beyond what you know at the beginning. So as you can see, people are beginning to join us again. So hi, Fabio. nice to see you. Hi, Christina. And Saul, do you mind changing your screen name so I can see your last name for attendance purposes? If not, I can change it for you. Let me see. I've had a couple of people warning me they couldn't make it today, but other than that, I am seeing some names in the roster that I do not know and who have not come yet. So I have a feeling that when I do not know them and they didn't make it to the beginning, they're probably going to be no-shows. So although there are 25 people enrolled in the class, we might end up having more like 18 or 20 at some point when everyone joins us. So let me see how we're doing. Clearing your answers because it looks like you all made it to this point. Oh, here comes Moni, the second Monica, but it's Moni this time. By the way, Alex, were you able to make it all the way to getting up to opening bridge in your VDI or not? Give me a chat answer if necessary. But I do know that you said you needed to step out, so maybe you're not there. Okay. Hi, everyone who's joining us. Hi, Moni. And I believe you two have been in class before together, right? Moni and Monica, you've already had this. No, is this the first time you're interacting in the same class? All right, I have two Monicas here, Moni, but the other Monica's with a K and you're Moni, so it's not going to be an issue. No, I
think
constantly,
we probably pronounce it the same way though. Are you a Monica?
Moni.
Are you a Monica?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we're both Monicas, but I'm Moni.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a Moni for my friends, but not by myself.
Yeah. Now, by the way, it's more confusing when I have to say I have like a class that has 3 Lindas, and I'm like, okay. I then started calling people first and last name. I go Linda Hawk or Linda Cannon or Linda, because there's no way otherwise that we can figure it out. But you guys, it's fine. So you guys, I have a request. And it's not a must do, but it's a strong request, which is the following. If you are someone, here's Amber, if you are someone who is comfortable and has the opportunity to turn on their their video, I can't tell you how much of a difference it makes to me when I'm teaching to actual people, and then if I'm teaching to black boxes. I understand you might not want to be on all the time and you might want to just turn it on or off, but if there's nothing behind you that's a problem, or kids running around, or it just really psychologically makes such a difference to me that if you can, as much as possible, have your screen on, it becomes much more human to see your faces react to my teaching. So as long as I have enough, a few people up, that's great. I hesitate to get to the point where suddenly it's all black screens and I have to request, hey, can someone turn on the monitor? Because otherwise I'm not even sure if I'm speaking to the ether or to the space or to real people. So now that said, yes, feel comfy to turn yourself on and off. This is not a must do. It's just a request if it's okay with you. Yeah, Alex, I see your hand up. It said I got to the part where I could access the student desktop in VMview. Okay, so if you clicked on the student desktop, you're probably going through the whole like black or blue-black screen where it's beginning to connect to the windows, right? Or did you pass that? Okay, are you already seeing the Windows screen? Okay, I see your message, Christina, that's great. Thank you. You passed that one. Okay, so then did you get to the start button did you get in to sign in to Google Drive? Once you see the window inviting you to open up Google Drive, you need to sign in with your entire username at pipeline.sbcc.edu. And after that, you can open Bridge. And then that's where you're up to. Okay, good. So then go down to the start button on the bottom left and click on the start button and click on Adobe Bridge. And once you do that, you're gonna get to another window that's Adobe that you need to sign in with that username and password. That you won't have to do again in the future. The first time you do it, you have to sign in a bunch of times. And after that, it all remembers for you. Okay. Hi, guys. I was, I've caught up. Everyone who joined in early is caught up to the system and the situation. I know that everyone else who came in later already is either on their own applications or on VDI. So just for me to have a visual, a show of hands here, let's say, can you please give me a yes if you are on VDI and no if you're actually on your own personal computer application. So if I see a red X, that's because you own the subscription in your computer. And if you're on green, that means you're actually using VDI. That way I can see at a gander who I have to, because things are gonna at the beginning show up a little bit differently and I need to know who to speak to. So let me see. Susan, you're on VDI right now, right? Give me a yes. I know Alex is a yes, and your hand is still up, so you can't shift to a yes, because when I shift to a yes, the hand goes down. But I know you're working on getting connected. And Norma, you're on VDI, right? And there you said yes in the chat. Okay, good. So there's 4 of you guys on VDI. And I believe the rest of the people who will be joining us later are probably all on their, I'm looking at the roster. I think they're all on their own applications. So that's put about 4 of you guys on VDI. Cool. I just there's a slight hesitation. Let me, well, this is good for everyone, not just on VDI, but your computer is being taxed by using Zoom and VDI. Your internet connection is also being taxed. So do your best to turn any other application that's on your computer off. So especially if you're someone who leaves a ton of stuff running in the background and you're not seeing it, but especially if you're on a Mac, if you look at your dock, you have a lot of little dots under the dock. Every one of those applications is going to be running, even though you're not seeing them. So by the way, I teach a lot of the Mac classes. If you're a Mac user who isn't very clear on how to use your Mac, please take my Mac classes, ask me and I'll tell you about them. But go ahead now and just try to turn everything off, because once we start opening all of these Adobe applications, they really they use up a lot of computer resources. So you want to have nothing but Zoom and Adobe open during this class, or VDI users, you want to have nothing but Zoom and VDI. Okay. That said, now and then, if you're on VDI, your computer connection, connection might falter a bit, or it might run a bit slower. That's okay. If you get disconnected, just, pop in again. That's fine. And as soon as I see you in the waiting room, I'll let you in. Warning, my internet connection for the first time in a long time has been flickering the last few days. I think rain or something like that. So if I suddenly freeze, like you just see that I'm not moving anymore and I'm not talking and you're talking to me and I'm not responding, that means I'm the one who went down. So this is just a warning because it happened once last week. Don't leave the class, just hang out, chat between yourselves. When that happens to me, I have to disconnect, reset my whole VDI, reset my computer, reconnect and come back in. And sometimes it takes me 3 minutes, sometimes it takes me 10 minutes. Just hang out there, I'll be back. Okay. The first time it happened, I thought, oh no, I lost everyone. How do I get everyone back on? But no, I discovered everyone was still there, just wondering where I'd gone. So it probably won't happen, but just letting you know that there's a chance. And if it does happen, just wait. All right. Cool. The last thing that I need to show everyone is going to be how to get to the handouts. Now, I know that many of you guys already know how to do that. So I'm going to get going with the class, and then I'm going to use the last 15 minutes of class so that anyone who doesn't know how to get to the class handouts, that's where I also post the class recording links, class files and stuff like that. I'm going to ask you to make sure not to leave early, right? So that I can show you how to do that. And then people who know how to do that can leave early, all right? That way we can all move forward with the class now, all right? So anyone who is new to me, to my classes, or who took my class long ago, another one of my classes, and needs a reminder, please make sure to stay behind, because we're going to need those class files by next week. Today, we're not going to download any class files. We're going to be starting kind of from scratch. Oh, actually, we're going to need something for Photoshop. Well, that's fine. I might have to have you download. I didn't think that one through. Normally we start from scratch and a lot of stuff, but not for Photoshop. So we'll see. Okay. I might end up having you download the class files today. I'll see when we get to that. I'm gonna clean your feedback. And right now, what I need to know from you guys, well, this is officially not the how to make the class work in Zoom, but this is officially your Digital Design Techniques class is actually beginning right now. So welcome. For those of you who have a particular project or plan or reason or goal that in mind of why you are here, I'd love you to share that with me. I'm going to ask you now to give me an idea of what you're up to. And a lot of people hesitate to say things like that, but it really helps. And those of you who've been in class before, that if you tell me you're, learning because you just want to learn, or because you're trying to get another job, or because your boss suddenly told you to update the newsletters or the website, or if you're, putting your art into digital format for an exhibition, or if you're writing a book, like whatever you're up to, you're creating a website, just give me an idea of what that is, because then I am going to use my examples and address you and say, oh, for the book that you're doing, this would help, or for the website, or for the, I tend to be able to support you in those things, or make a point of saying, hey, this will be particularly useful for you, or something like that. But we're going to use our files, my files, for the class, okay? We're not going to be working on your particular projects during the class, because we kind of need the whole class to move forward together. So what I want you to do, if you are up to a particular project, is take everything I teach you about how to use the applications to then during the week apply that to your process, to your projects and stuff. And then you can say, hey, on this logo or on this newsletter that I'm doing, I come upon this problem, and I can help you verbally, or I'm going to ask you to post the classwork or the work that you do in between onto Padlet. Now, some of you guys have been with me before, but haven't used Padlet yet. So that's why I waited until everyone is here to explain the whole Padlet concept. So let me explain what's going to be happening. I'm going to be asking you here. Let me put a link here in the chat. If you click on this link that I just put in the chat, it's going to take you to Padlet. I'm going to share my screen now. It's going to take you to this page, which right now is empty. This is a place where, how I can't be walking around the classroom watching what you're doing to see how you're progressing. So this is where you're going to post screenshots. You're going to go ahead, and as we're working on a project and stuff, I'm going to go, okay, go ahead and take a screenshot of this and post it. Sometimes I forget to do that, and suddenly I'm so engrossed in a project that it's the end of the day and I haven't asked you to take a screenshot. So please go ahead and remind, or say, hey, should we screenshot this or something? Because basically what I need to see your progress in class is to see what you're doing. So I've just finished explaining something, and we finished, a piece or an art or something. Just do a quick screenshot of it. And I'm teaching you layers, then include the layers. If I'm teaching you the way to manipulate an object, include that thing, and then post it here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, you need to know how to do a screenshot. And so if you're on a Mac, screenshots are what I'm going to explain right now. Go ahead and grab any part of your screen right now. It doesn't matter what, just go ahead and click, Mac people, click on the Command key and the Shift key at the same time, and then hold down the number 4. And when you do that, you'll see that your mouse turns into this little crosshairs, I guess. And then go in and select a portion of your screen. Like I'm going to select this little bit of my screen here. Once you let go, for Mac people, you'll hear a little click, like a camera just took a picture. And that little file has gone and put itself into your desktop. That's just the automatic place for desktop where things happen. So if you're in the middle of a project, I want everyone to do this, by the way. I'm going to show now PC people how to do this, but for Mac people who already have it, then you're going to go to this window and click on this plus sign. Once I touch it, it becomes a pencil, but at first it looks like a plus sign on the bottom right. Click on that plus sign, and you're going to get this little window here. It's a very simple process to post. First, I need you to write your name though, because there's no other way for me to know who's posting something. And if it's everyone's doing the same flower, I don't know whose flower it is, right? So put your name so that I know who's making the post. And then if you actually can see your desktop and you can drag it onto here, please do so. But if your desktop is under a bunch of other stuff, then just click on this first little icon here. And then go through your Finder to click on your desktop, and you'll see your screenshot right there. And you can double click or click and open, and it's going to pop in. So here my screenshot was just of a portion of this screen. And then you can just hit publish. Another thing you might want to do, some of you guys are good at this, is write down here. I'm practicing, retouching with the spot tool, or, say what it is that the steps that I just taught you. I went here and here and here to do this or whatever. And then you publish. And so here you can write, whatever it is that you're going to write about to say that you said something. Or you could also be asking me something like, and then you hit publish. And there it is, it's going to pop in. So everyone go ahead who is on a Mac, go ahead and go through this process. Meanwhile, I'm going to go teach PC people how to do this. I'm going to head over to my VDI right now. And so now I'm on a PC. If you're on a PC, let's go ahead and head down to where you search for your applications, click over there, and then write the word snip or something like that. And as soon as you start writing snip, you'll see the snipping tool pops open. Okay, so go ahead and click on the snipping tool. And it's a tad more complicated on the PC. When the snipping tool pops up, you're going to have, it's this little box. It might pop up in some part of your screen. When it pops up, hit the new snip right there, the new word, and everything's going to go kind of ghosted. And your mouse turns into, again, kind of like a little plus sign, a little crosshairs. And so now select a portion of your screen and drag across the thing that you're trying to share with me. And once you let go, on the PC, it's not so automatic. It needs to be saved. So let's go to this little file, and that's the snip that I just took. Go to the little file, save as, and then you can choose to put it on your desktop or wherever you want to put it. I'm going to go ahead and put it on my desktop again. So you can scroll down to desktop, or where, you choose where you want to put it. The reason I am someone who will always say, don't use your desktop files, by the way, except for these little screenshots, because then after you've posted it, you can just delete it really quickly, right? Don't leave a bunch of screenshots hanging out on your desktop. It's not worth it. So anyway, once you have that shot completed, then go ahead and click again in the Padlet, and then go and do the same thing we just did. If you're having problems with it, let me know. But other than that, see how people's Padlets posts are beginning to show up, which right now are meaningless because they're just a little background picture or something. But as soon as we begin now with the applications, I'm going to be requesting not so much today. Today, I'm going to be doing an introduction to all the applications, so there's not going to be a particular, thing as much. One project, we're not going to end up with a perfect project today on anything. But as we move along, please help remind me if you see that I haven't reminded you and you remember to do a little screenshot, just keep it going. As I said here, this is also for homework or anything else you want to share with the class. It also says successes and failures are welcome. What I mean to say is, if you're trying something out with one of your files at home during the week and it works, yay, post it, show me what progress outside of classwork. But if you're getting stuck on something, it's a great place to put it there and say, look, I'm trying to get this line to be thicker, or that thing, can you help me with that or something? And I'll see that, and then I'll address that during the next class. Sometimes I'll give you a quick answer down here if it's a quick answer that I can give, but if it's a whole explanation, then I'll explain it in class. Does that make sense? So this is for more than classwork. It's also for work that you do during the week. I'm not going to assign. The step where I'm stuck is making a screenshot. Okay, and you are on a Mac or on a PC, remind me. Mac, okay. So on a Mac, go ahead, it's 3 fingers on your keyboard. Go ahead and hold down the shift key, the command key, and the number 4. So it's kind of like a little, and then your mouse turns into crosshairs, and that's when you can select something, and boom, that little area that I selected just sends itself to the desktop. Unless you turn the sounds off, you should hear a little click like a camera, and that's how you do the screenshot. Okay, did that work? Did you see it working? If not, you can share your screen and I can watch you do it, and I can see if you can get it. So basically, while he's working on getting that to happen, I just wanted to say that please, everyone, post something, because I want to make sure that you all, got the message of how to do it and where to do it. So no matter what you're posting, just go ahead and do that. That's like the first class assignment, so to say, is to post something here on the Padlet. And I was saying, I'm not going to give you homework that's mandatory. In this non-credit class, you are going to get a pass, no pass, based on what you do in class. And this is how I see what you're doing in class. It's part of a credit certificate. It's part of a certificate that you're going to receive if you take, a certain amount of classes, the digital design certificate, if you're interested in getting the certificate. But if you're not interested in it, I'm still going to have to give you a grade. And if I don't see your work, I can't give you a pass. Now, as long as you attend and practice, my intention is that you get better than where you are now. So for some of you guys, you're going to do something that seems much more impressive than someone else. That's okay, as long as you're better than how you start. Like, it's about getting, it's not comparable. I'm not expecting a new person to get something as polished as someone who's doing this class a second or a third time, or has already had work experience. So, so enough for me to see how you progress, then and you attend class because it's based on participation, then that's a pass. Okay. That said, I'm going to suggest homework, and I'm going to suggest that you practice, and because that you'll just get better. That's all, but it's not mandatory. All right, enough already. Alex, I see that you posted, so that was successful. So yay. I'm going to switch to sharing something else. Okay, so that's our Padlet. In the handouts, I have a handout that has the class recordings I'm going to show you in a minute, and or later today. And I also put the Padlet link in there, and there's a whole handout that shows you, reminds you how to do this in case you forgot. But the link to the Padlet will be in the same place that you have class recordings, so that you can find the link during the week when I'm not posting it in the Zoom, so that you can get back to this place, or you can just bookmark this page, whichever way is easier for you to be able to get back to the Padlet during the week. All right, so What are we going to do in this class? What are we going to learn? There are entire classes where I go in depth in how to use Photoshop, class where I go in depth in how to use Illustrator, class where I go in depth into how to use at this point we're using Dreamweaver for websites, which we're changing that because it's not the primary program anymore. So we have other programs that teach you more in depth each application. And this one is where you actually learn how to use them all together. And let me explain. When you're out there in the industry doing work, if you're doing it for your own business, if you're doing it because you just want to create some art or a book of your own, it's not just one application that you're going to use. Most of the times it's a combination of applications, and the Adobe applications are the applications that are part of that are out there in the professional spectrum. That's not to say that there aren't other applications that do similar things, but for the most part, Adobe's applications tend to be the top of the line. And yes, there are free applications that you can do quite a bit of what you can do here. But once you learn how to do it here, then you can apply that knowledge to just about any other application, because it's like, if you can do it in Photoshop, then you'll know how to quickly adapt to doing it in any other program. And then there's some things that only Adobe can do, right? Because yeah, it's the rest of the programs don't get to that level. So these programs that I mentioned, the main ones being Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, are used for very different things, but there is overlap, right? So let me kind of explain in a stereotypical way what each one is for, because as I said, there's overlap. And so if I tell you this, you can only do this in one or in the other, many times, a lot of them can do a bit of what the other one can do. But for the most part, Photoshop is where we're going to work with photographs that exist. So it's an image that is in existence. Now, it could also be art, right? Because it could be that it's a photograph of a piece of art. Like you are an oil painter and you take a picture of your art and you want to enhance it so that it looks the best it can be for that exhibition you're submitting your image to, right? Or it can be that you've created an oil painting using Photoshop's techniques. But for the most part, we tend to use it to enhance, correct, change, or fix a photograph, right? So it's based on something that exists, something that's real. Illustrator, on the other hand, is a program where you start from scratch and create something. You actually used your skills to design something. And InDesign is the layout application where you create the layout of, say, that book or that flyer or that, web page or banner for your web page or something like that. And then you bring in the photo that you're going to use in that newsletter that you already fixed in Photoshop, and you bring in that logo or that little illustration for your story that you created in Illustrator, right? So InDesign is where it all kind of comes together. It's where the entire project resides with bits and pieces from these other applications. You can also create interactive stuff. So let me just give you a little quick rundown of things that you can do with each of these programs. It's not limited to that. There's a lot more, but there's a little bit of an idea. So for the most part, you can do a lot of editing or correcting of photographs, but not only correcting, because not every photo is wrong, but there's a lot of enhancements, right? So, and everything, by enhancing, I mean everything from making the sunset look more intense in color to making that person that is actually full of zits look like a cover model, right? So, there's that, or there's also completely inventing, making a photo that does not exist come to existence by collaging, if you want, compositing a bunch of different images and illustrations and stuff to create a whole entire new art piece that wouldn't have existed in real life, but somehow those images are being created all together in Photoshop. This art then can be used for basically anything: web, social media, email, apps, prints is what the saying but I mean, you name it. Photoshop is all over the place. You can do, it's pretty much a primary program where everything tends to end up at some point have to go through Photoshop. You can also work with text to create layouts and layout imagery and text. And an example here is patterns for fashion graphics. You can also make animations. You could actually edit some videos and stuff, but that's really not the primary thing. But you can definitely put, I mean, you could edit a video, by the way, in Photoshop in a minor way, but the real use for Photoshop is to create animations based on still images. So you can have 10 photos of a bird flying, and then you can put them together and make a little animation of the bird flying, right? So a lot of the animations that you see out on the web, little tiny little things that kind of run around, or a cat that runs after a ball again and again, those are animations put together in Photoshop, okay? You can also create the graphics that then you actually make real full-on animations in combination with Adobe After Effects, which is a program that allows you to animate graphics in a real way. Like, you know, like all those presentations in TV where, right, you know, news programs have all these things that roll in and out when they're telling you stuff. That would be an animation created in After Effects, but the graphic first needs to be designed in Photoshop to then be animated, right? So anyway, there's a whole bunch of reasons why you might use Photoshop. Now, for the most part, if you have used Photoshop before, or if you would like to use Photoshop, what do you think you might need or want to use it for? What of the things I've said or other ideas do you have? Go ahead and you can either speak up or you can write it in the chat. If you've already used it before, or if you want to use it for something, give me some ideas. So Christina said work. Yay, can you be a tiny bit more specific? Like at work, you could be creating a web page, you could be making a newsletter, you can just fix the photo that's like sitting in the hallway. Like a little bit more specific is what kind of work would be helpful. Anyone else? Please go ahead and participate here and tell me what your use in the past or hopefully use in the future for Photoshop would be. Some of you are like, you know, I'm a photographer and I just strictly want to make my photos look good and no fantasy to it, just make them look better. And some of you are planning to be very, like, you know, creative with it. Patterns, graphics, fixing photos from my trip to Costa Rica, social media, you literally do everything. Graphic design, animation, great, Christina. So work does encompass a bunch of stuff, but that gives me a bit more of an idea. Marketing campaigns, collaterals, again, Christina. Okay, great. Susan has never used it, but hey, basic editing, photography editing, cutting out images to include in layers on flyers, portfolio, social media, events, flyers. Yeah, that's a great idea. And then Norma, who's been using Photoshop before, but wants to just see what's new and different. So to just brush up on the program. All right, great. For some of you, it's completely new. For some of you, you had some experience. Give me a yes if you've used Photoshop before. Give me a no if it's completely new to you. So green or red little dots. Okay, so most people are saying yes, and I got a couple of no's. I believe, Alex, you told me no to Adobe in the past, but I'm not sure, so I'll wait for you to say yes or no. Yeah, there it is, no. I sometimes remember where people are at, and sometimes I need to be reminded. All right, let me give you a couple of examples here. Oh, there you go. The last one that I hadn't gone through is very basic video editing. Yeah, if you're going to do real video editing, you're going to go into Adobe Premiere Pro. So that's what you're going to be using instead. Here's an example of, I don't know if you can really see the before and after, but this is going back and forth between this. There's nothing really too wrong about this photo, but those little bright lights could be distracting. So they've been retouched out so that you can focus more on the fawn having some grass. So that's a little example of retouching. Or a lot of times you need to do color adjustments, which was this is happening here. You might or not in the video see the difference, but it goes from being kind of warm and yellowish tinted to being more neutral tone. So that would be a color correction. You could also create special effects. This car that was just sitting in a garage suddenly looks like it's in movement, right? So that would be actually beginning to alter that photo. Social media, you can create the whole thing, the whole post. This is where we begin to incorporate, art, text, and other kinds of material. This could even be 2 different photos that you composited to turn into that, or it could just be its own thing. Let me just back up a little bit to this. One thing you're going to do with Photoshop, if you're going to be using text and stuff, it's going to be for 1-page items, meaning a social media ad or at most a poster or something like that. You wouldn't be putting together a book in Photoshop, right? So it's not like for long text projects, but it is for like headlines and stuff like that. For the most part, for things that go to the web. If you're going to be doing things that go to print, to like high-end printing, you're definitely going to be doing that for the most part in InDesign, although there is an overlap between Illustrator and InDesign too. Again, social media, you're beginning to incorporate art that you could have created probably in Photoshop, but for the most part, you might have created this more typically in Illustrator and brought it into Photoshop, but you could do this in Photoshop too, because it does have vector graphic capabilities, which is what Illustrator does. Animations. So here's an example of an animation where your banner flips and changes. So this is a basic GIF animation. More complicated animations. But once it gets a bit more complicated than that, you might begin to consider moving into After Effects, but that can be done in Photoshop as well. This is graphics that you then, to do this, you actually have to combine your art and then use After Effects. Anyway, web design, you can create pages. Now, the pages you create in Photoshop are not going to be web designs. What you're going to be doing is the layouts and the mock-ups, for example, for a web page to present, to decide what you want. And then you still have to create a lot of the programming. We don't do programming with Photoshop. Anyway, that's an example of the things that you can do with Photoshop. Illustrator, on the other hand, and here's the big difference between Photoshop and Illustrator, is that in Photoshop, all these images are based off of pixels. I'm going to show you in Photoshop in a minute what pixels are, but all your images are going to be limited by that initial photograph that got taken, either by you or by someone else. You're going to be using an image that exists and is limited by, was it taken with a digital camera 10 years ago that had much less, much less information in it, right? Like megapixels of information. We're going to talk more about what that means. Are you taking it with a good camera right now? Are you scanning it in? Whatever you bring in has a limitation. So if you took a photo that has a certain amount of pixels, you might not be able to enlarge it any bigger than 5x7 for one reason or another. So you certainly won't be able to turn that into a poster, for example, right? So there are some limitations. On the other hand, you can have all kinds of effects and work with millions of colors and stuff like that. So it's very versatile. But these pixels would be like the cell of an image created outside of Photoshop for the most part. Vectors, on the other hand, are things created by a computer. So Illustrator is a vector program. It doesn't handle pixels. That said, Photoshop does also handle vectors. So you can do vector work in Photoshop, but usually it'll be secondary. Most of the times you'll do your vector work in Illustrator and then import it into Photoshop, just because it has more tools available. And what a vector is that it is created, you draw a line and it's your computer calculations that are creating that line to look like a line. So the good news about that is that it's not limited in any which way in size. You can create a little logo, you can create this design this tiny, and then decide that it's going to go on the side of a building and expand it to be 40 feet tall, and it'll look just as sharp and bright and tight as what you designed in tiny. It is infinitely scalable. Okay, so that's kind of the quality of Photoshop, of Illustrator. Also, a vector file is going to be much tinier than a pixel-based file, the one that we do in Photoshop. So if you're going to go to the put this logo on the internet and you designed it in Photoshop, well, that's a much bigger file. And for the internet, you're going to want to have the smallest file possible for it to be agile and move quickly and pop up quickly in a website. So you're better off having a vector-based design for your logo so that it can be a small file that can be handled by, online. So that there's all these kinds of things that you're going to be thinking about. So we're going to be figuring out how to prepare, where's the best place to prepare each thing, when to combine them, and how to output the work that we're creating in these two programs to that final product. And the final product sometimes will be both for the web and for social media and for a flyer and for a postcard, all at the same time, in which case you need to use different effects. So then here's examples of what Illustrator can do. Basically draw and edit vector graphics. And with that, you can create logos, illustrations, designs for website. Again, the designs, the graphics that are going to motion video, layouts for packaging, all kinds of patterns, repetitive patterns, like gift paper that you have one little design that then spreads out and it looks like it's sprinkled around, but it really starts with a little small portion of it, that kind of thing. So here's an example of logos, icons, more complicated illustrations. You might notice that the majority of this is flat colors instead of millions of colors. Like you're going to have the shade shown to you by 2 tones of blue, but not necessarily by a complete shade. That's what Photoshop is good for. This is an example of a pattern, full-on packaging for this, for the front of a building now, for the front of a box. This could have been created also in Photoshop, but it would make more sense to create this because it's basically a vector pattern to just go ahead and create it in Illustrator. Most of the times you end up combining materials. Here's an example of a pattern created to create a scarf or textile. But as you can see, it's not one thing that stereotypes Illustrator, but that tends to be that the colors are flatter. Again, as I said before, versus a full-on distinction of shades and texture and stuff like that. You can add texture though to Illustrator and stuff like that. Okay, so that's an idea of what we're going to be creating in Illustrator. And then InDesign, as I said, is the place where you put it all together, right? To create the combined actual end product. But it excels in long documents like books or booklets or newsletters or anything that has multiple pages. Photoshop and Illustrator do not work for multiple page items. You can create a flyer, a one-sided page, flyer or something like that, but you wouldn't be wanting to create much more than that. For that, you're going to come into InDesign. Books, magazines. You also can create high quality interactive PDFs, forms, text fields. So anything that gets really complicated in the world of PDFs, you better come in over here into InDesign. EPUBs, interactive books, that kind of thing. That would all be something you'd want to use InDesign for. So here's an example of InDesign, right? Your coffee table books, booklets, programs, book covers, magazine covers, branding. So typical for all of the marketing pieces in a business, you might create, all of the branding for a business, ads, that kind of thing. So anyway, as you can see, there's some overlap in everything I've shown you, but that's the main gist of the program we're going to learn how to use. I've added a 4th program here that we're going to be using, and that's Bridge. So let me first catch up because there's a couple of texts that I saw, chats that I saw coming in, and then I'm going to explain Bridge, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll keep going. So, all right, so photography, editing, cutting out. I read that, brush up on the programs. Oh, I hate Premiere. Do you do video editing in another program than Premiere then, or not? Christina, or because you seem to be doing everything else. I don't know if you do it on some other program. I actually love Premiere, and my son is a filmmaker, and we do a lot of video editing here, and I do use Premiere, but I know there's other programs that are useful too. So I don't know if you use something else at that level, or you can do, Mac people can do editing in iMovie for simple stuff too.
I'm interested in learning how to style font and kerning and stuff like that. We'll definitely be covering that material, so that's great. Integrate Adobe programs into Canva. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Canva. Canva is a free application, although if you pay, you get some more features to it that exists on the internet to put together, kind of like InDesign, where you put materials from other stuff together to create a final piece, right? So again, newsletters, brochures, book reports, all that kind of stuff. I don't know about books, but probably one. Does Canva do things like newsletters? I don't know. I think it's one-page items. Yes, you're saying, okay, thank you, Cheyenne. It does do things like entire full-on books. Okay. I've only used it for simple things. But you can use the materials they give you, the logos they provide you, the little Apple drawing they provide you, or you can make your own in Photoshop and Illustrator and then put it together in Canva versus an InDesign, right? So basically it's a more intuitive, easy to use. The moment you want something a bit more complicated, you probably need to go back into and use, InDesign for more complicated features. But that said, it's very easy, it's free, very accessible. And it gives you all these templates of pre-made things and you just modify a few things and boom, there you go. You have your little banner, right? So yeah, check it out. It's Canva. Go to canva.com and see what the features there are. You might find that you can even use it for free at a pretty high level. So great, yeah. Basically, the answer to that is yes. Once you create all the stuff in Adobe and save it, exporting it as a JPEG or PNG, then all it takes is importing it and using it, right? So yeah, then you can just do that. But you'll notice that you can do that with InDesign too, once you begin to do it that way. Theater and events use visuals. I'm interested in learning how to apply my creative talents in an unfamiliar medium like Adobe. Great, okay. So if that's the interest that you have and you learn to use an application, then you start thinking, well, in my life, what is it going to be good for? And one of my friends does a lot of theater set design and stuff like that. And he does it all in Photoshop, right? To create those materials that then become part of the set design. So yeah, that's an example. Or things that need to be projected during a show or things like that. InDesign might be useful for career path events in theaters, as a matter of fact. So well, there you go. Final Cut Pro. Okay, so use Final Cut Pro. You're a Mac person. Premiere is clunky. Yeah. I guess it's all what you're accustomed to. But yeah, I see your point. At this level, we're not going to be video editing to make a distinction between Final Cut or Premiere. The one thing I'm not including in this class is video editing. So, but yeah. Canva Pro is a combo of Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop. Yeah, it's kind of a place where one shop, what's it called? A little one-stop shop or something like that, where you can do a little bit of everything. And again, it's a great program. And when you want more than, because it's not enough, then you move over to the Adobe programs, or you start in Adobe and then you know what things it can handle and what things you can just go to the simple program to do. Yeah, Canva, you don't download, it's web-based. You have to be online to use it, both Mac and PC. And then After Effects for special effects, that is an Adobe program. So yeah, cool. All right, so great, lots of information there. And so back to what I'm going to teach you is, since we don't have a complete full-on class for InDesign versus we do have for Photoshop and Illustrator, a lot of my examples are going to be based on creating a project in InDesign as the layout base, and then going and working on the photo for it and bringing it in, working on the Illustrator and bringing it in and creating that complete project, and then how to output it either as a PDF, high level quality, publishing, export, that kind of stuff. So we're going to be working on all of them, but this isn't the class where you're going to learn each program in depth. This is the class where the projects themselves are going to be relatively simple, in that some of you know Photoshop, some don't. Some of you Illustrator, some don't. Some of you know none of them. But what we're going to be creating is going to then be the knowledge of how to orchestrate the whole thing together, right? And then that will give you information for how to use it for Adobe products, or for Canva, or for video editing and everything you're going to do. The one program that I haven't talked about yet is the bridge, which as I said, is the one that, I'm sorry, I was listening to the last thing that I was reading the last thing that was said about Canva. So anyway, let me not distract myself with chat anymore. Bridge happens to be the organizer of files for Adobe. So it in fact is a program that you use to bridge all these programs together. And because that's a good way for all of us to access the files, especially some people are on VDI, some are on Mac, some are on PC. By using Bridge, I'll show you some of the features that Bridge has, but it's not an in-depth explanation of Bridge. It's rather a place that we're going to be used to use as a core and start all our projects from and go in and out of Bridge to source our files. So if you didn't, in fact, yet download Bridge because you had the applications, I think Cheyenne already did it, but anyone else, please make sure over break, we're going to take our break now, to download Bridge into your computer. If you're on VDI, you have it already. Let me just say that anyone who's just been watching this portion, which was me talking, I'm finally going to let you guys all participate when we come back from break. If you're on VDI, go ahead and go and move something around or do something so that it doesn't like disconnect, which if you don't use it for a long time, you might like disconnect to it. So go and, you know, show some signs of life or go ahead and open another program. Maybe you want to open Photoshop or something, just to even just going here to show that you're going to use it. That's enough. You don't even need to open something. Just show some signs of life in it so that it stays open and live until we come back. Okay. So I'm going to stop my share. When we come back, we're going to open up Bridge and begin to explore that. Today, we're going to open each one and explore each program individually as a broad exploration. And then we're going to begin to delve in each one independently. And usually we'll be using at least 2 at a time, always Bridge, and then usually 1 or 2 of the other programs at a time. So make sure that your computer can handle that. And I try not to have all 4 open at a time because on VDI, sometimes that can't be handled. All right, so I'm looking at the time here to see. This is many of my classes are 4 and 5 hours long. This is the shortest one. So we're going to have a short break of 10-minute break. And I kind of went past the middle of the class time already. Sorry about that. So let's be back in 10 minutes, which means it's 10:53. So let's be back by about 11:03. Does that work? Is that about 10 minutes? I'm never good at maths. My 11:03, which just goes to show why I am a visual. All right. I'm going to mute you all so you can make all the noise you want. See you in a minute. Alex, your hand is up. Is that a new hand or is it from before that I didn't notice? I'm setting my timer. Fine, that's great. Cool. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, we'll still have time to be together again after break before you need to go. Cool. Thank you. All right. See y'all in 10 minutes. Hi there. Hello, hello. Let me know, let me clear your answers so that when you are back and show me some signs of life by turning on a little yes. Let me see. Oh, Susan, you were disconnected. Susan, if you're there, will you share your screen so I can see how to help you? I'm not really sure what's up then. Go ahead and give me a holler when you arrive, but you might not be hearing me. So anyway, whenever you're there, I'll give you a hand. All right, okay, I'm seeing a couple of yeses, so that means some of you are back. Susan, you're there. Do you want to show me your screen so I can see what's happening, to see if I can help you with what's happening to your VDI?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, everyone else is rejoining us. So remember, it's 2 steps. It's the share screen button and then the second share. There we go. All right. So, okay, you are on. VDI seems to be on. Go ahead, and this is not the, I see what you mean. This is not the place where you open your applications. You need to click on that little tab thing that's putting out to get it to collapse again. Yeah, click on that to collapse it.
Mhm.
And now at the bottom of your screen, there's the Windows
Oh.
Start. That's the one. Click on
Okay, that's
there,
right. I'd
and
forgotten
then
where I
there's
was.
Bridge. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
thank
fine.
you.
That's why sometimes I need to have you share your screen because it's a simple thing that I can see, but you wouldn't have been able to describe that, right? So that's an example,
you.
you guys, of how much I'm going to be asking you when I can see that she wrote to me a message about what was happening and I just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, share your screen. I look at it, there you go, and I see it. Okay, so it's the quickest way to get help. All right, and I'm saying that again just to remind the people who didn't hear that because you joined us after I went through that whole thing. Please don't hesitate to share when I ask you to share it, because it truly is the fastest way to have the class move forward. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to slow the class down. Nope, it's the other way around, because otherwise we're leaving someone stranded, right? Okay, I've turned off your yeses because I'm assuming most of you by now are back. And thank you for, I actually got to have the 10-minute break. A lot of times I have so many student questions that I don't get a break. So usually as long as I get like 3 minutes, that's at least 3 minutes, that's usually enough. But sometimes I'll point out to someone asking a question that's very particular to something that's not working on their computer that isn't really part of the class. And I might say, hey, ask me again and I'll answer during break or something like that, right? Otherwise, I might ask you to stay a little bit after class, a few minutes, and I'll answer you there if it's something that really doesn't apply kind of to the class. So ask me those questions and I'll tell you whether it's an appropriate question for the class or not. You're welcome to always ask. Doesn't mean I'll always answer. All right. So let's hopefully open Bridge before we went on break. So by now it should be open, but if you didn't open it yet, please open Bridge. And I am showing you, some of you didn't hear this because you joined me a little bit later, but I'm on a Mac. And like my computer is a Mac, but I'm also on a on VDI for the PC. So on one side, if something looks different enough on a Mac or on a PC, I'll share my Mac version of that because I have both open at the same time and I'll go from one to the next. But right now I'm sharing with you my PC. And when you first open a program, it probably doesn't look like this. That's okay. All these programs will open a little bit differently, and I'm going to have us equalize how they look so that everyone starts at the same spot. The first thing I want you guys to do is to not have these little floating boxes. And I'm going to show you why, because once you have 2 or 3 programs that are floating one on top of the other, it does become a little bit confusing. For example, I'm going to go ahead. Don't do this right now for a second. Just let me do it. Just for a second. Just watch this little bit because I want to show you the problem and then I'll show you how to actually not have that problem. Right now I'm opening Photoshop at the same time. And at some point I'll be using also Illustrator and InDesign. And it's taking a minute because I'm sharing and zooming at the same time. So hold on. When I open program, I'm going to stop my share to just give EDI an extra little oomph to get the things to open. Hello. Yeah, it's really slow today. Hello, Photoshop. Ah, there it is. It's finally opening up. It's yeah, it's not acting very fast. All right, and there's a reason I'm going through this that's pretty specific. So let me bear with me. Well, Photoshop opens up when I am sharing my screen and zooming. VDI is even slower, so that's why I stopped my share. But it's almost done opening. Okay, there. So now let me actually share my screen again. Wow. It's gone through the whole process. It still didn't open up. Okay, yeah, just wondering if everyone else is having. Okay, so when you first open up Photoshop, here, I'm sharing my screen. When you first open up two applications, you might end up having a whole bunch of like windows on top of windows and stuff all over the place. And it can get really confusing, like what's happening here. First of all, if you get this message about your graphics processor compatibility check, that's a VDI issue. Ignore it. It's not a problem with your computer. Just say okay to it and it'll go away. They're trying to fix that at the school level, IT level. The next thing is that you're going to have like Windows saying you've never opened these applications before. So you're going to have all these like, what's new or whatever. This is for VDI people or anyone who's opened their application for the first time. At this point, ignore them. But in the future, you can go back to this window, and if you click on these things, it takes you to the internet and it shows you how to do certain things. So there's always like a top right little X that you can click on things to close them out, right? But then you might have other messages like cloud documents. So at first you end up having a lot of these little things that don't let you move forward until you say, okay, okay, okay to all of them, or XXS to get rid of them. So just first, if you see anything that seems to be intrusive or whatever, just say okay or X them out. But then you're still going to be left with like a couple of different boxes. And this is just two programs, one and another, and they look kind of similar. And which am I in, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to request that instead of having like people say, I'm going to move Photoshop over and do this, and then I'm going to go bridge over, then I'm going to do that. And they start like jigamaros and rigamarole. The one thing I'm going to tell you, first of all, to do any kind of design work, you're going to have to work with multiple applications at once. Let me show you the effective way to do this. Don't move things around or you won't see the tools. Use your taskbar for the Windows or your dock for the Mac. So let me clarify the point I'm trying to make. First of all, expand my program to fill my screen, right? So on a PC, you do that by clicking on the right side on this little box near the X, and it maximizes, right? But then how do you get to Bridge? Well, instead of moving things around, head over here to the taskbar and click on Adobe Bridge, and then Bridge opens up, and then you expand that one. And now when you need to go back and forth, you just go Photoshop, Bridge, Photoshop, Bridge, right? And then there's no confusion of which one you're in. So if you're on VDI now, go ahead and do that. Open your Photoshop as well, so that we have two programs running. And then do this that I just showed you. If you're on a PC, do it as well. But most importantly, make sure nothing else here is open. You'll see here if there's any other applications open. Some of you are running the internet and a bunch of other stuff. Just click on those things that are open, and you click on them, and then just click on that little, X to close that, right? To get rid of anything else that's not Adobe Bridge or Photoshop right now. All right, now I'm going to change my share to show you what this would look like in on a Mac. The same exact situation, but on a Mac. So now I'm going to share my entire screen. Again, a Mac is more prone to have floating things all over the place like this. It's like a typical issue with, with Photoshop. So if you're accustomed to having floating things all over the place and you have a big screen, you can do that. But here you're also sharing a screen with Zoom and whatnot. So my request, once again, is to do the exact same thing. Grab your Photoshop and expand it by going on the left side this time to this little green button and make it big, fill your screen. Then head down to your dock, and then you'll see here, if you've already opened both, the B for bridge, you might see them on the right side or somewhere on your dock. You'll see the PS is for Photoshop, BR for bridge, ID for InDesign, AI for Illustrator. You'll see these little dots underneath means that the program's open. It's just in the background. Click on BR and then expand your bridge. And again, make sure that if you have any application with a dot under it like that, that's not necessary, close it up. So if I don't need Excel right now, right click, quit, like get rid of the programs that you don't need so that we can maximize the power. I'm using Firefox for my VDI, so I'm going to keep that one open. But then when I need to go to Photoshop, I go and click on this one. When I need to go to Bridge, I'll click on that one. So the taskbar in the PC is equivalent to the dock on the Mac as far as how to move back and forth. And it's the most efficient way. And then to know that when you're in Bridge, you're in Bridge, and when you're in Photoshop, you're in Photoshop. Okay. I'm gonna stop my share for a minute. Hopefully now you can get that situation handled. Get your two programs at least opened up that way. And then I'll proceed to explain individually to work with I'm going to proceed to work with Bridge first and then show you how that works. I am noticing that at this point, I probably should have had you guys download some class files, but we'll see if I can make it work with files that you have on your computer. If it doesn't work, then I'll let you know. All right, so let me share my screen again. Okay, give me a yes if everything I just explained makes sense to you and you're able to set it up that way and you're clear. The one thing I want to avoid, if you really don't want to maximize your program, just do not move things around. I constantly have people going, I don't see that. And I go, okay, share your screen. And it's because they've moved the program and so the tools aren't available. That's the most inefficient way to work with stuff, is moving it out of the screen, because then you really don't have the stuff that you need to work with, okay? So, all right, I'm seeing a bunch of yeses. A lot of the times, I do want the yeses to know that I can move forward, but it's really important for me to get the no's. If one of you says no, then I help you and then we move on. So if you're like not getting it, and that's why you're not saying yes, I need to go ask you, because if I don't see a yes, you might be a no that's just not like answering no. So I'm going to have to immediately go in and say, if you didn't answer, so I'm saying like, Amber, you haven't answered yes or no. Are you good with this or do you need a hand? Is it working for you? A lot of the times the people for whom something is not working, like VDI disconnected or whatever, they're paying attention to that. So they're not paying attention to me, right? So I might need to call you a few times until I hear from you. But anyway, Alex, you're saying that you don't have access to Adobe Suite and the VMware Horizon. You don't need that. So go ahead and share your screen to let me see what's happening. And then Amber, check in with me and say yes or no to whether you've been able to use the taskbar or the dock to switch between programs. But meanwhile, Alex, give me a share of your screen to see what's happening to you. That's why I check in, to make sure that for who it's not working. When we're in the programs, you'll find that when I'm helping someone, you'll have other things to do. So it's not like you'll hang around waiting a lot. But right now that we're trying to make it work, I need to make sure everything is working. So, okay, so you're sharing. Let me see. You have a Photoshop. That's so weird. I see what you're saying. Go ahead and click on the right side of that white box. On the top right, there's an X. Close that window. Okay, go up and close, yeah. And say okay to the graphics processor that's incompatible. Click on that. Okay, now Photoshop didn't seem to not be opening. It seemed more like, let me see how that works. Go ahead and go down to the, I'm not seeing your entire window. I'm not seeing like the start window. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh, now go down to the, no, it was fine like it was before. Now you're not, yeah, there you go. There's a start window. Go up and try to open, try Bridge first. Click on Bridge. And let me see what it says about the email, because it shouldn't be asking you that. Let's see that. There it is. Bridge opened up. Now head back to that same window. Oh, let me see. Oh, no. Okay, you hadn't signed into Adobe yet. You need to put your entire pipeline email address here. Go ahead and do your username at pipeline.sbcc.edu. Okay, and then continue. And this is a one-time only. In the future, you won't have to sign into Adobe every time. It just needs to be done the first time. And then after that, it remembers and it won't ask you anymore. Oh, this pipeline.sbcc.edu. There you go. Continue. You do not have access to this server. Oh my God, I've been teaching online for years and I have not seen this one. Was there a typo at all in your password? You want to just try it once more time, or you're pretty sure that was it? Try again one more time and type it in. And then it's your username. I can double check if your username is correct, but you got into VDI, so you know it. Go ahead and type it in one more time. And let's make sure we didn't miss a period or a something. At pipeline.sbcc.edu. Okay, give it one more try. And if that message is still there, then you really do need to get some support from IT. Wow. Okay, I'm going to screenshot this because I've never had this happen. And I can't help you with this. So this is weird. I really haven't ever seen this. So for now, you're going to have to just watch the next piece. It's okay because in a way you kind of need to leave pretty soon, but go ahead and after class, when you get back from your appointment, check in with, I think you know how you've already used the SBCC IT support, right? From what I remember. I sent an email, and at the bottom of that email, I'm going to stop your share because there's nothing I can do regarding City College connection, so I can't help you with this one. Everyone, in the first email that I sent you, the long one with a lot of information, the end of the email had ways to get help from SBCC IT support. You can either email them or call them, but the most effective thing in this situation would be for you to click on the Zoom link. You end up on a Zoom like this with a tech support person, and then show them that on VDI your Adobe isn't working, because that's something that they have to go fix at the college level. See what I mean? Your pipeline account might need to have something working on it. Plan B, disconnect from VDI while you're just watching, reconnect again and see if maybe it was just a bad connection or something that you can do now while I keep working, okay? Because yeah, that's a thing, that's something I can't help you with. So sorry about that. I usually have the answers within the programs, but not within the school connection. All right, good. Oh, okay. You reset your password twice today? Yeah, yeah. When you reset your password, it takes some time to acknowledge it. And then, especially if you did it twice, you're probably, yeah, that I'm pretty sure that's the problem. Don't bother going to SBCC tech support right now. Wait it out. When you come back from your appointment, try it again, and it's probably going to be cleared up. If at that point it's not working, then yeah, go in, because it usually gives you this like period where things don't work because it doesn't recognize you. Okay, so yeah, that's a good point, that if you reset your password, that's probably the reason. All right. Cool. I'm glad to have figured that one out. Here we go. We're inside of, let me head back to the Bridge in the VDI version. Here's what we're going to do. People who are on VDI, because you're on VDI and you signed into Google Drive, you already have access to the class files. Let me show you everyone how we're going to set our bridge up, and then I'm going to give VDI people access to the class files, and then I'm going to work with the people who have the stuff at home. So bridge might be showing up for you in many different ways. When you first start, the way this program is showing might be different. Here's the way it's showing up in my Mac version or in the PC version. It just shows up differently. But there's something up here, see that saying essentials, libraries, film strip, or whatever. You might have like workflow clicked or metadata clip or something like that. Everyone make sure that you have the word essentials clicked to start with. And I'll show it now on the PC. And then move over to the right to this little kind of double-headed arrow. Click on that. Oh, oh, they changed where it is. I did this last time too. Next to essentials, this little guy right there, that little like icon with 3 little lines next to the word essentials, click on that and then reset. Okay, just say reset. And then in the PC version, where are the words in the PC version? You might notice that when I show the VDI, I have a very different resolution, so it shows less things. Where did they go? Where did my choices go? This looks like it's a different version here. Schools tends to upgrade their stuff a little bit slower than. Okay, so if the quick access to the words here isn't there, go over to the window workspace, because that's what we're changing, and choose essentials from there. Okay. And if you choose it and nothing happens, that means you were already in essentials. But again, if you happen to have been in some other place where you're prioritizing different kinds of information, it's just showing you the same information in different ways. Click on essentials and then head over there again and go to reset to save layout. Again, this is because we want to make everyone have the same screen in front of us right now. And if you've ever used it before, you probably have used it in a different way. And I'm starting with the basic setup. Okay. At this point, what you should be seeing is a series of documents here called favorites that usually will be pointing you towards probably what should be selected right now is this PC on a Bridge is the one that's a little bit more different on Mac and PC. Once you're inside of Photoshop, Illustrator, and all that, there's 0.001% of difference, but Bridge actually does show up a little bit different because it's about file handling. So file handling on the Mac and your PC are a little bit different, right? So on the Mac, I have to show you both all the time. Other stuff I won't be showing you both all the time. So on a Mac, what you will be seeing is probably the word computer or maybe your name. That might be what's pre-selected. But on the PC, you'll be seeing, let me move this over here. But on the PC, you'll be seeing this PC. So click on that. Now, for people who are on VDI, your files are going to be on Google Drive. So here, the third choice is Google Drive. Go ahead and double click on Google Drive. For people who are at home, I haven't had you download the class files yet, but when you do, your stuff will be in your downloads folder because you'll have just downloaded it, right? So I'm going to take you there in a second to download the class files, but VDI people right now, head over to Google Drive, double click on Google Drive. Then inside of these two choices, you're going to go to the shared drives because I have shared a drive with you with the class files. So double click on shared drives. I have a lot of stuff here because these are all the drives that I share with students, but you should, at this point, if you're in only one of my classes, you should see only one folder. If you're in more classes, you might see more folders. You should be seeing right now a folder here that's called Digital Design Techniques. Mine is over here, right? If you don't see it, please let me know. Otherwise, double click on Digital Design Techniques to open that one up. Let me clear the feedback in case I see anyone signaling a problem. So now you're connecting to the folder that I put up in the Google Drive that I shared with the whole class that has a lot of the class handouts. And the one that I need you to open right now is the first one, which is a folder, but don't open it yet, actually. I'm sorry. If you did open it, If you did open it, because I said open it, then go up here and back up to the World Digital Design Techniques. I need you to be at this level because I want you to make a little shortcut. As you can see, what we're doing is navigating your computer files, in this case, the school computer files. So that's what I said. Bridge is basically like the Finder on the Mac or like the Windows Explorer on a PC. It's a way to access your files, but there's some special, very special things about it, which I'll get to. But right now, what I want you to do is a quick access to this folder. And so what I want you to do is select this folder and just drag it into this empty space. If you don't have an empty space, you might need to scroll, but see how you have PC libraries, those come. And then here I have something that says Spring Photoshop class files. That's my quick access to the Photoshop class. So you guys go ahead and drag it here, drop it there. And now that's your class files for digital design technique. Oh, I didn't change the name to Spring. Don't worry, I'll change that. Then once the shortcut is there, you can click on that. And here you have a bunch of class files that we're going to be using during this session. Okay. Now, that's easy because you have them there if you're on VDI. But those of you who are at home, how do you access these class files? I was hoping to add some more files to this actually, which is why I hadn't originally made you download files yet. But let's go ahead and do it because if I do add a lot of different stuff, I might ask you next week to go ahead and download the files again. So if you are here on VDI and you found these files and you're on VDI, go ahead and give me a yes, like all is good. If you're not on VDI, just wait. But if you're on VDI and you didn't find these or something went wrong, then give me a no so that I can help you. Right now it's Cheyenne, no, and Susan and Stephanie and who else was on VDI? There was one more person on VDI. Oh, Alex. Oh, but you can't get there because of your password thing. Okay, good. So that's on people who do have or don't have their internet. Now, everyone who has their own applications, you're going to have to open a browser. And by the way, those of you who are on VDI, please do this as well, because this next information that I have is for everyone here. It's basically what I kind of said I would wait until the end of class to do it, but I need to get you guys to get the files, so I'm kind of going to do it now. Head over and open a new tab. Don't type in and look for something new in here, or you'll leave VDI the wrong way and it's an absolute disaster. So open a new tab for VDI people, and then everyone else just go to your browser and let's type in sbcc.edu. So we're basically going to go to the school campus. And if you don't want to type it in, I'm putting the link right there. It's a simple one to type in, but there you can just click on the link in the chat and you'll get here. Once you're here, this is for everyone. So VDI or not, I just want you to leave VDI and make a new tab if you're in VDI right now. So this is just one of your browser windows. Let's go ahead and click on the word pipeline. Click on pipeline. You might be able to, Alex, give it a try to see if maybe you can get in with your password here, in which case, if it's resolved, you might be able to do it on VDI as well. So let's log in. All right. Give me a yes if you got here, and this is for everyone in class. So make sure you give me a yes if you got here. Even if I know that you've done it before and I should know that you're there, still give me a yes. That way I just like transition and I keep moving. Okay. So if you got in, here's where people might be having issues with pipeline. You might say, I'm not letting me in or stuff like that. So if you're in, give me a yes so I can move forward. All right, Norma, there you go. You said yes. Okay. Now head over to the word student and scroll down to student resources. Click on student resources. All right. There you go. Now, if you have a small window, you only might see this part of it, in which case you need to scroll a bit to the right to see this side of it. I have a wider window, so I'm seeing it already. What you need to target now is Google Drive. But before you hit that, let me show you a really important feature of these student resources, which is that one, LinkedIn Learning. There's only so much I can teach you. And LinkedIn Learning, if you access it through this link, is completely free to you. And when you go through your own to linkedin.com, it's really expensive. You have to create a membership. But if you go through this link right here and you continuously say, as it tells you to say, continue without LinkedIn, do not connect account. You kind of need to say no to all their suggestions because they're going to try to connect you to your personal LinkedIn account. If you have one, that's a problem because then you're going to have to pay. So keep saying no, 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 no. And by the time you said no, like 3 times, then you'll open up into LinkedIn and it'll be the school account, which is completely free to you. I'm not going to demo that right now. Try it on your own. If you have questions, I have in my handouts a video link that you can click on to demo how to get into LinkedIn. But it's a very useful resource. Please go and use it. It's tutorials, it's video tutorials. No one's there to answer your questions, but they're, 1-hour lessons and 24-hour lessons on just about anything in the world of software. Once you know the basics of applications, that's good to go. It's hard to learn from scratch with these videos because they kind of assume some knowledge, but once you know something, it's really a good way to get some more information. So anyway, I'm going to leave you there. I'm not going to take you in there right now. Let's all go to Google Drive. Click on Google Drive. As you can see, today's class is more about orienting and settling and, all that kind of stuff. I'm seeing your chat that you mentioned that it does seem to be a password issue. Got it. It might or not be an IT issue because since you changed it twice, it just might need you to wait a couple of hours before it gives you access with a second password change because they're trying to make sure that you're not spamming or something like that, right? So maybe you don't have to need help. The first password works, yes, works, and then not the second one. I see that. Okay, give it a try with the first password then, or just wait it out, okay? Because usually that kind of stuff resolves itself with waiting it out. Okay, guys, back to when you click on Google Drive, you'll be taken to the Google Drive. That's your pipeline account Google Drive. You might have your own Google Drive from your personal email. This is the school Google Drive. You might have a ton of stuff here in your drive, or it might be saying, welcome, you've never used it before, right? That's fine. We're not going to be there. We're going to be here. Click on Shared Drives. Shared Drives is where you access the drive that I have put files in for you guys to access. So I shared it with you. And if these are all the classes I can share, if you're in this one class, you will see only one. You will see digital design techniques. If you're in a few of them, you'll see a few. Here's my digital design techniques one. Once you see it, double click and open that one up. If I'm going to clean your feedback, if this is for everyone now, except for Alex who's having password issues, everyone, if you made it here, give me a yes. If you didn't make it here, give me a no. And let me be sure that everyone made it all the way in here. Okay. I have a video, by the way, that I'll email you after class with a little short video that's just about how to do this again, so that you, and another one about how to get into VDI again, so that if what I said right now, you forget the steps, you'll be able to review it and be fine with it next week. Okay, so here we are. Some of you guys might have a window like this opened up here. And for some of you, it takes over a whole bunch of your screen. This is unnecessary and it just uses real estate space. So go ahead and click on a little X right here and get rid of that column so you have more space for the handouts. All right, and here we are. You might or not see what's up here. This is something that's just individual to you. Every time you open a file, it'll pop itself up here as the latest files that you opened. So yours might have nothing or it might have something in there. But this is where the class files and handouts begin. Here are the files that I need you to download. So before I show you the rest of them, let's get going with downloading the class files. If you are at home with your applications, or if you're going to purchase the application this week and you're going to by next week have them, then go ahead and download the class files right now. That way you already have them in your downloads folder. If you're going to stay on VDI the entire class, you don't need to download these files. Don't clog your computer with things you can't use because you'll be accessing them through VDI. Okay, so how do you download these files? You hover over this folder and you right click and you head down to download. By the way, if perchance you already double clicked and got in, you can't download them from here. So up here, head back again to the digital shared drive using that. And now again, go to the folder that says download class files, right click and download. Now, once you hit the download, it's going to prepare the download. There's a bunch of files here, so it's going to take a while. Okay, as I said, I'm probably gonna have you do this again. I'm gonna prompt you to do this maybe before class begins next week, because I'm gonna be changing some of these files. Because I'm updating some of the assignments and some of the handouts, but in case I might not give you it's a project that I'm working on. I might not set it up for 2 weeks, so we can still start with these files. It's gonna take some time to download. And if you're on a PC, it might need to be extracted. And if you're on a Mac, it might need to be unzipped depending on how your computer settings are. So right now that this disappeared, I know that it's been downloaded. One more thing. While that's happening, just ignore it for a minute. It's just happening in the background. I want to show you the rest of the class files. These are all handouts that are there for your use outside of class. You're not going to be opening one and following the 10 steps. These are to support the stuff that I teach you, or to inform you a bit differently, or to remind you about shortcuts and stuff like that. I'm going to show you a few of the ones that I do want you to read for sure, and that I want you to maybe have read by next week. But the main one that I want to show you right now is the first one. Most of these are by alphabetical order by default, but notice that this one starts with Z and it's up front. I just kind of tricked the name a little bit because I want you to have quick access to this one. Because let's open it up by double clicking on the Zoom class recording links. And this is the one that you're going to be heading to for a couple of different things. First of all, here I have a couple of videos reminding you how to use VDI. Link to that, or how to download the class files, although, in case you forget how to do it next week, you can do that, or how to access the handouts and stuff like that. So that's links to videos that I chatted. This is the link to that class Padlet I told you about. So you click on here, it'll open up your class Padlet. This is a class survey that I'm going to have you do as homework. It's a quick one, but I just don't want to use any more class time on this. So please click on this link, and when class is over at some point, it's just a few minutes of tell me a bit more about not only your prior experience, but maybe describe a bit more the projects that you're working on, or questions you have, or goals you have for the class, that kind of stuff. But most of it is little check marks, yes, no, to have an idea of your experience and that kind of stuff. Especially if you have a particular thing you do want to learn. A couple of you guys wrote it here in the chat. I'm going to save this chat, but it's a little bit harder for me to find this information later. So it's better if you write it in here, because then I can really see it, and then I'll tailor. I really do. I tailor the class a little bit in my examples towards things that you need. Anyway, so that's the place to do that. And then over here, after each class is over, probably by nighttime, because this class ends up pretty early, but it takes a bunch of hours for the whole system to process the file, maybe not until Saturday morning, you'll have another link here, which will be the entire recording for today's class. Okay, so you're gonna, at the end of each class, when you want to review something, or if you missed something, you're gonna click on one of these, and it's going to play the entire 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, however long the course is. This one's a relatively short one. So I recommend that you have a little pad next to you, so that if you hear me saying something that you'd rather practice again or listen again, then you can write down and say, retouching brush, 10:45. Like at 10:45 p.m., I talked about the retouching brush. Once you get to the video, so I'm going to click on one of these. It's a short one, but you're going to click on this and this, and it's going to open up to in YouTube. And in YouTube, it's going to, let me just play because I need to get through the ads before I can get to my video. In YouTube, this is a link that is personal to you guys. So don't share these links. They're not, like, people can't find them. You only need to get to them to these links. And then over here, if this is a 3-hour video and the class started at 9 and you wrote down 10:45, then you know you need to advance to an hour and a half into it. And then you click into an hour and a half into it, and then you watch that portion. Does that make sense? That's because when you have who wants to sit through a 2.5 hour class when you were there, right? Now, if you were not here, you got to sit through the whole 2.5 hour class. All right. And do the work during the week and post it in Padlet if you missed an assignment. Okay. So that's how you're going to use these videos. This is a shorty showing you how to do the same thing I just taught you today. So I'm going to close that window up here. And this is going to be, your source for all these links. I'm going to click on the tab again with the handouts. The one that I want you to start reading, and I'm going to send you a reminder email about this. Scroll down a little bit and I want you to read this one. It's called New, and the word new is the only one called new. So go ahead and use, I never change the name because it distinguishes from the rest. It's a weird name, but it's new because before I had a older version, a newer one, and I called it new, and that's the only one that's left. Double click on that one. This is like 13 pages and I need you to understand resolution. I don't want you to learn it from the handout. I will be explaining resolution, but if you have never heard about the whole conversation about resolution, it's better if you have some prior knowledge or something under your belt so that when I explain it, it's easier to understand. So go ahead, and this is, I hope it's 13 pages, but a lot of it is pictures, right? So it's not like it'll take you that long, but please read through this so that by next week, I can count on some base knowledge of this conversation before I start teaching it, okay? Because this is going to apply to all of our applications and all of the output that we do. If we're going to do anything regarding print, we're going to need to know this. Anything you're going to print, no matter what, you're going to need to understand resolution. It's one of the big deals that people get wrong, no matter how many years they've worked in the industry. Resolution is a big deal. So we're going to work on that. Okay, the rest of them, it's up to you to use or not. I do have some links to shortcuts. I'm going to be talking about shortcuts all the time, but if you need a reminder, you can double click one of these and download it to have it near your keyboard. Other than that, I'll be calling out the shortcuts all the time. So these are Illustrator and Photoshop shortcuts. And I forgot to say that if you have a printer, you can print this out. You don't need to print it out. You can also just read it online. It's up to you. All right, that's it for handouts. Let's go to Bridge and find those files that we downloaded. By now they should be ready. In fact, if you do need to extract it, you might not find them, in which case, if in your case, you don't find the files, I'll walk you through extracting them for the PC or unzipping them for the Mac. Most of the time, the computer does it automatically, but some of you guys, the computer might not do it automatically, in which case I'll walk you through it. Okay, let's go back to Bridge. This is my Mac, meaning people who downloaded the class files. So it doesn't matter if it's Mac or PC. If you download them onto your computer, follow these instructions now. It'll see either Photoshop, it'll either say PC if you're in a Mac or your name if it's a PC, but you need to go over here and look for a folder called Downloads. Now, I'm going to actually go over here. I have mine already, so I'm going to remove it so that you guys don't have that in there. Okay, because normally it doesn't show up. So you're going to go over here to your name, find the folder that's called Downloads. And when you try to open it, if you've never opened it before, for me, it just opens, but for you, it's going to say, oh, system preferences, you need to give permission. Again, the Macs are very concerned with privacy, and they're not going to just give you access to your files in case this is a bad actor here doing this. So you have to go in. It's going to open the access to system preferences, and it's going to let you sign in with your password and tell you, yes, please give access to Bridge to my class, to my downloads. Okay. If you did it successfully, fine. If you're getting stopped by that, let me know and I'll help you through it. When you do give access, then you'll be able to come back and once again, click on downloads, and now it'll be available to you. Okay. So that little permissions thing is a Mac thing only. That's why I'm showing it here. PCs, just let you in. Okay. Now, go ahead and look for the folder. If you have, unfortunately, I teach people how to not have heavy download folders, but right now mine is pretty heavy and I have a ton of stuff in it. So it's going to be kind of hard to find it. So you can do a search. The class folder name starts with the word downloads. So you can go up here to Bridge and write the word downloads, right? And then hit return, and then it will hopefully find it. Now, if it's not there, there's a possibility, like in my case, that it means that it needs to be unzipped, right? So in my case, it didn't really find it. So I'm going to back up from searchers, go back to downloads. Maybe you can see it already. It's a folder. there's other ways to sort through stuff, but it's possible that it needs to be unlocked. So it's in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go A, B, C, D and look for it that way. I'm scrolling up and down. A, B, C, D. Here I have because it starts with the word drive because it's coming from Google Drive. I'm going to hover over these and see what's the name of each one of these. I believe this is, yeah, that's the problem when it doesn't unzip automatically. I have a whole bunch because I keep downloading this to demo them for class. If you see the folder called downloads, digital slide techniques folders, just double click, you're fine. But if you don't see it, I'm going to have to reshare my Finder window. And this is still a Mac thing. I'll show you how to do this on the PC. Let me reshare to add my Finder window. Give me a second here. Okay, so now I'm adding, there we go. I'm adding my Finder window to share. Okay, so this is my Finder window here that I'm sharing. Head over to your downloads here on the side of the Finder window. And what you'll see is that this one is still zipped. It needs to be unzipped. And it said download class files, but it's zipped. So all it takes is double clicking. Double click. And this is going to unzip itself. Now, since I'm on Zoom, my computer is being really slow. It doesn't seem to be wanting to unzip, but try it again. Double click it. I'm going to stop my share for a minute so I can unzip it. Computer is being quite pushed. There we go. It's unzipped. So now I can share again. Here we go. Took me a second. There it's shared. And so now my Finder window, if I show it to you again, see, that was my zipped file. And here's my actual folder that downloaded. Okay. And it's called download class files, DDT fall 2022. So once you see that folder there, you can go back to Bridge. And now, in this case, I'm going to reset it. I'm going to kind of go back to the so I can double click again so that I can then go find my folder that says, downloads. And then find that folder. And again, I have a mess. I'm sorry, I'm cleaning it up, but here it is. Download class files. You're going to find it here. Once you find that folder, drag it out here. And it'll say DDT stands for Digital Design Techniques. Once you click on that, you'll have the class files. Now, in case you're on a PC and you need to extract files, I can't demo that because on my VDI PC, I'm not going to have to extract files because it's on Google. So if this is something that's happening to you on a PC, I need someone else to share their screen so I can demo how to do this on a PC. So how's it going, guys? Is anyone needing my help to extract files or do something? I'm going to clean your answers again. And now give me a big old yes if you got it on Bridge. You've made your little shortcut. You can see the class files under the downloads and all is good. If that's so, then fine. I'm still having some issues with mine. Definitely, I'm not seeing all my files. I'm going to I'm not seeing them on my VDI. I'm seeing them on my Mac, but not on my VDI. So okay. Got it. I fixed it. Now I'm going to look. I first had to take care of myself. Now I can take care of you guys. Any help? Okay, hand up, Monica. Yes. How can I help you?
I have a question about the name of the files. When I clicked on it and downloaded, it downloaded as fall 2022.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
forgot.
right now you moved something that was called spring. Is that the same folder or?
Yeah, that's why, hold on, it's the fall folder.
Mhm.
Let me just share for a second. I forgot to rename that one.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
But
but,
that's the one you
um,
wanted us to get.
Yeah, it's
clearly.
the one you need is the fall folder. Sorry, that's my bad.
Okay.
But it's called download class files DDT fall 2022. I
Okay.
forgot to change the file name. This is I have a string here because it's my Photoshop class files, which I'm not, it's for my
Okay.
actual Photoshop class files. Here, that's the name of the folder. Okay, good
Okay.
question. Sorry,
Thank
I messed up. All right, someone had a no there. Susan, how can I help you? What's happening?
Well, I mean, I have it because I am on since I don't have the program, so I have it from how we got it over there earlier. But if I'm on Bridge and I go to this PC
Oh.
and
Okay,
go to downloads, it doesn't give me an error. It just says
Yeah.
no items to display. Is that because don't have the programs?
hold on. You're on a PC or on a Mac? Because if
Mac.
it tells you to go to system preferences, you shouldn't go to this PC. So that means you're doing this inside of VDI. Don't this inside of VDI. For VDI, you need to use the Google Drive. Okay,
Okay.
so the VDI, you do not need to download files, and that's why they're not available to you. You can't.
Okay, I'm just trying to
So-
keep up. I am going to get the
On
programs.
VDI, no. So you have to do this on your Mac. So you need to download these files on your Mac. So open your Mac browser, go into Google Drive and download
I
them
did
onto
do
your
that
Mac.
while you were
Okay,
doing it for
yeah,
everybody
got it.
else. So I have them.
So that's fine. That's where you need, that's the one that you need to go. You don't have Bridge yet, so you can't do this last part of accessing them, but you have the files. Once you install, you'll do it.
Perfect.
But there's no need to download onto VDI. Got it. Good question. And yeah, perfect. No need to do anything. Anyone else need a hand? You're all able to access the files. You're good? I know that a couple of the people who have them already, Amber, Norma, you okay? Norma said yes, Amber. Okay, well, Norma, you're on VDI, so you don't need it. And I'm not sure, I think Amber, you've done this process before, so you'd be fine, but in case you're not and you need them, give me a holler. I'm gonna keep going. Okay. Cool. So now, how do we work within Bridge? And as you can see, it seems to be at this point just a glorified Finder or a glorified Windows Explorer. It's just another way to look into your computer files. You could go anywhere. You could go into your documents and see all your documents. You can do it in your whole computer. You can check it out. But this little pointer here takes us straight to that to now. You don't need to leave the downloads folder in the downloads folder. You can move them to your documents folder anywhere place you want to, and then go find them here. This acts as an organizer, but also when you use multiple Adobe programs, you're going to be using a whole bunches of different extension names. So like over here, extension names would be the little .docx or .jpeg or .ai. Sorry, I'm going to make things bigger so you can read them better. So down here, there's like a little slider with a plus and a minus. You can either grab the slider and make them bigger or smaller. You can get the plus a couple times to make things bigger. If you want to see them a bit bigger, you don't need to see them huge, but big enough that you can understand it a little better. So I'm going to just zoom in. So some are PSDs, some are TIFFs. You have a whole bunch of different file formats here, right? Including folders and stuff. When you are in, say, a regular Mac Finder and you double click on a JPEG, it's going to open in a program called Preview. If you're on Windows and you double click on the Windows Explorer on a JPEG, it's going to open in Windows Viewer. I don't even know what it uses right now. If you're on Bridge and you double click on a JPEG, it's oh, this is a Pixelbate file. A JPEG should open in Photoshop. So you double click here and you don't even open Photoshop. Photoshop will kick open for you because you double clicked on a JPEG. If you double click on an AI file, it'll go, oh, I need to open Adobe Illustrator for this. So you double click from here and boom, it opens up in Adobe Illustrator and opens up for you, right? So it kind of knows what these files belong to, which is not something that you can probably get from your Finder, although an AI would still open an Illustrator out of the Finder anyway, so that's not the best example. All right, so that's one of the quick reasons. And the other quick reason I'm doing this in class, just for my purposes, is so that we all have the same I don't have to constantly be telling you what's on the Mac and what's on the PC, the Finder, the Explorer, all that kind of stuff. Teaching you file management is not what I want to do. So this is where all the files are. Take one of my other classes to learn file management. All right, so that's one of the reasons. But on top of that, the Explorer, the Bridge is a place where you can do a lot of cataloging and organizing. So if anyone have used Lightroom before, which is like, it's got this like organizer for photos, it's only for photos. That's all it does. It's very limited to photographs in Lightroom. This is your organizer for any kind of file that can be used in all kinds of media, sound, video, movie, whatever. It's just, it's a way to make collections and files and projects and yada, yada. You can also do a lot of raw editing through Bridge. So you can open on a file, if you know what I'm talking about when I say raw editing in Photoshop, editing raw files, you can do it through Bridge. So we'll find many utilities, but I'm not going to be able to explain all of them. The main one that I'm going to explain is that it allows us to see the file metadata. What do I mean by that? Click on any one of these. I'm going to go ahead and click on the first top left, so it's easy for everyone to find. Over here, the name tells me that it's AA_beans JPEG. That's the name. I put an A in there so that it would pop up to the top. If I want to know things about this file in order to use it in my project, I need to know things that are pretty crucial, like amount of pixels, file size, a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want to be opening a bunch of files to find that information. I can find that information about every type of file through Bridge. So I'm going to head over here to where on the right side at the top, most of you guys here probably see the word publish. Go ahead and switch to preview. Okay. Then you can see a bigger preview of the file on one hand, but also down here, I want you guys to open up the file properties. When you, for some reason, I'm missing the, it's so weird, I'm missing the summary. That's bizarre. There's usually a summary here, but it's not showing up. I'm wondering if it's part of the Zoom issue, but you should be seeing a summary here. Anyway, if you don't have a summary, you have an empty box like I do, which is weird, but go ahead and click on this little arrow next to the file properties, because that's really what we're going to use. All right, so this metadata, by the way, if this is really tiny, you can grab it. All Adobe programs, you can change how big or how small windows or boxes are, but putting your arrow in the middle and like dragging to the right or left to adapt it a bit more. So I'm going to push this up a little bit more because I want you to see the metadata a bit better. All right, so here I have the file properties, and this is pretty crucial because when I select a file, immediately, once you take this class and learn more, just by learning about this stuff, you will know immediately whether this is a file that's going to suit your purposes. Once we read the resolution handout and I explain the whole resolution, you're going to look at this and you're going to go, okay, this thing says that I can print this file 10.5 by about 16, 10.5 by 15.8. Okay, cool. I can use this because I need it for my little poster. Okay, great. I'm going to use it. Actually, that's not right, because if you continue reading and understand, this is warning you that since it says 72, it's not a good printable file. So you got to ignore that number. You have to change that, et cetera, et cetera. So you first need to learn about this, and I'll be teaching you in the next few classes what this means. But at this point, you can look at this file from here and go, ooh, that's a cute file. It's great, but it's not going to work for my poster. I got to find a different one. Go and move on to the next one. Read the metadata. Oh, this one's going to work. You probably have bunch of files, and that way you don't waste time working on a photo, putting it in a brochure, setting it up, and then discovering, hey, this one is not going to work for printing. It's only good for web, because it's just not from the beginning a file that you're going to be able to use in many locations and stuff like that. So here we're going to learn a lot about the file, and that's something you can just gather about any kind of file, no matter the format that it has. It'll give you information about it ahead of time before having to open each program and stuff like that. So that's the main thing we are going to do with Bridge, find the files and learn about its metadata. Let me say that if I want to see a bigger image of this file, the easiest way, instead of using this preview, which is kind of clunky and smallish anyway, Or instead of zooming really big, because you get to the point that you can't like zoom a lot. So the best way is to select the file you want to see bigger and then hit the space bar. And oh, I'm not sure if it's sharing. You do it yourself and it's gonna, because I'm not sharing the main screen, but it's gonna get huge and then you hit the space bar and it'll get small again. So that's a good way to get a big preview of it. Did that work for you guys? I'm not sure, did my thing share when I did that or not? Because,
Yes,
oh,
it
it
did.
did share, okay, because since I'm not sharing that screen, I didn't know if that worked. So then I'm gonna head over here and that's good to, before I work on this file, I go, oh, I love this one, I'm gonna use it. And later I discover it wasn't in focus. Well, how do you know before you even bother using this portrait versus the next portrait is by hitting this and going, oh yeah, this one's focus, or oh no, it's too soft in the eyes. Let me go look at the next one. Let me look at the next one and maybe I'll use the other one, right? So you can make a lot of pre-selection of your material right here in Bridge before you even bother to incorporate those files into your materials. Does that make sense? So that's probably one of the quickest and main reasons to do this. I mean, when you have photos, usually have a lot of the same one and you can choose between one and another. So you can do a lot of finding out about your files already from here. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're going to do the Bridge. Let me tell you, there's a ton more that Bridge does that I can't even approach. And it's not part of the class. For this class, we're just going to use it as its name implies to bridge between all the programs that we're going to be using. So I haven't showed that in the PC. So let me just really quickly show you that on the PC version. Oh, there we go. Here's my BBW. So again, same thing. If I click on this and hit the space bar, it's going to fill the screen. And over here, see, this one is showing me my summary. I'm not sure why my Mac one isn't showing it. I think I'm just taxing my system a little bit here, a bit too much, but here's the summary that I was telling you about, where it shows you a lot about the photo itself, which is after the fact. You can't change this. This means this photo was shot at this speed, at this aperture, with this ISO, with these settings. You can't change that. That's already information about, if you're the photographer, you might want to know which one it is. But for us, what's going to matter is this one, which is how many pixels total this file has, size of my file, resolution, color. There's, I'm going to teach you about these things. This one's ready to go to the internet, for example, because it's an sRGB, but it's not probably in the best format to go for print and stuff like that. So you get a lot of information about what this file is good for through this little summary and through the expanded file properties. All right, let's go ahead and use this now to open up one of these files in Photoshop. So since I started showing you that first one, let's go ahead and double click that one. And when you double click, since it's a JPEG, Photoshop is just going to know that it needs to open it in Photoshop. So, oh, and by the way, sometimes it is confusing and people think that they can double click from here. This is not the place to double click from, even though you might see it bigger. This is another way that you can check for focus quickly, because this little, when you hover over this, it gives you this little zoom tool. And if I were to say, oh, I wonder if those beans are in focus, I click here. And it shows me a little mini preview of that at 100%. You'll learn the importance of 100% soon, but that is a preview and going, oh yeah, that's fine. These are in focus. But if I click over here, it's like, oh, those are not in focus. If I want the whole file to be in focus, I'm like, move on to the next one, right? So it's just a quick preview for quality of the file, noise, focus, that kind of thing. But you can't double click here and open it. You have to double click from this area to open it, okay? Once you double click and open it, by now, this should have opened inside of Photoshop for everyone. Is that so? Did that work? If everyone has the file open and everything is working seamlessly, give me a good old yes, please.
Mine didn't open for me. It like had a little spinning thing and then it just stopped.
You're on BDI, huh?
Yeah.
And you had another issue before? No,
That was just-
your issue was that you didn't know. Okay.
Right.
If it's spinning, it might be that it's just needs a bit,
That's what I was wondering.
it's slower. If it's not spinning and nothing's happening, maybe your double click isn't activating it. Do a little right click and say open with Photoshop, so kind of like make it happen. But if it's already spinning, it's probably just trying
It's
to get
spun,
to it.
and then it was spinning and then it stopped spinning.
Oh,
Nothing
okay.
happened.
Is your Photoshop already open?
Yeah.
Because, okay, because if not, what it's probably doing, it's opening
Oh.
Photoshop and taking some time to open Photoshop. Like if you hadn't yet opened the program, it's probably working on that.
Okay,
but
it just
it-
popped up. Yeah.
It popped up. Yeah, it just, as I said,
It's stopped.
VDI is a little bit slower than you're accustomed. You might have a fast computer, but you're going through VDI, right? So you gotta give it a little bit of time. All right, cool. So now VDI or personal computers, when I say personal computer, I'm gonna say at home. You're all at home right now, but VDI people are at school as far as I'm concerned. And people that are at home have their own systems. So everyone should have this thing opened. Let me see who's left here that hasn't answered. Well, Monica, I think you're probably fine. Susan, now you said it opened up, and Amber, haven't heard from you in a while. I'm not sure if you're busy with something else or if you can't work or if something's not working. So let me know. Norma, you said yes. So good. Everyone's fine. All right. Here we go. We're in Photoshop. Today we're going to do a little like preview of all the programs in the few minutes that we have left, just to show you similarities. Later, and there you go, Amber, thanks for answering. Later, when we move into actually, hold on, I got some weird stuff here that I need to erase when I use my mouse differently. Sorry, I just needed to stop that. I'm gonna put a little like color pointer to my mouse. There we go. So that now you can follow what I'm pointing to better, because I'm just going to be showing you stuff right now. First, the similarities. Later, as we hone into each program, we're going to begin to distinguish what is different. But the similarities make things go easy. If you already know one of them, some of you, quite a few of you said you've seen Photoshop, it's going to go easier to learn the others. But let me be clear. Photoshop is more different to Illustrator than Illustrator is much more similar to InDesign. Because Illustrator and InDesign both are vector programs and thus share a lot more similarities than Photoshop. So a layer in Photoshop is different than a layer in Illustrator, but a layer in Illustrator is the same as a layer in InDesign, right? So, there's going to be some things that are pretty importantly different, like layers, and other things are absolutely identical. So we're going to go to the similarities right now. Here on the left side, you have your main set of tools. How you see these tools or not depends on your resolution. Like for me, on the VDI, I look at these tools and suddenly I can see that they're disappearing. Like I'm not seeing all of them, right? Because the resolution that I see in VDI through is not big enough to show them all. Then if I need to see all these tools, I can go up to the top of this little arrow and click on that and click, and then my tools will double up so that I can see all of them. Okay, so if you see all of them in one strip, you're fine. Don't bother with that. But if you see that it kind of cuts out and you're not sure that you're seeing them all, give that little double arrow a try and you'll now see all of them. Okay. Another thing I need to do, I forgot to start with, your window might look different than mine. In fact, it probably looks different than mine because I've already modified it in my last Photoshop class. So let me do the same thing we did in Bridge. Let's equalize our workspaces. I'm gonna head over to the farthest side, right top side, right under where you have the things that turn off the program, and click on this little box. If you hover over it, it says choose a workspace. Once you click, again, it's giving me different workspaces. For this class, we're gonna head over to the Essentials workspace. Because it has different tools available to us. The photography workspace doesn't help. It doesn't have so many of the layout tools. The Essentials is a good overall, if you want, set of tools. Let me show you what I mean. You can, it's like here, you can say, I want my motion tools and do editing. And so you get a different layout of your panels. You can say, I'm going to be painting today, and you get a whole different set of tools and brushes and stuff, right? So it's like walking into a studio, a very well-appointed studio, and opening a closet and say, today I'm going to work with clay. Today I'm going to work with watercolors. Just bring out the tools that you need. All of these programs work that way. You can set the workspace you're going to start with. As you get better with these programs, you're going to decide, hey, I prefer a different setup that's none of these. You set it up for yourself, and then you create your own workspace. But for starters, we're going to Go ahead and do that. Then again, on VDI, because of the resolution, I'm not seeing a lot. A lot of my stuff is going away. So I want, if you're the same as me and you can't see all the panels, trust me, I'm not seeing them all. I can either put my mouse in this middle line and just click and drag and make it smaller. That's one way to begin to see other things better. Or I can just say, you know what, right now I don't need this one. I'm just going to collapse it, but not disappear it. So I can just give it a little double click on the word color, for example, and it's collapsed so that it moves out of the way to let me see my properties. If I don't want to see my properties, I double click and now I can see my layers. There's nothing under layers, et cetera, et cetera. The one that you want to see a lot right now is the properties panel. At another point, I'm going to ask you to see the layers. So I'm going to prioritize the layers. But for now, well, let me just show you. I do want us to see the layers pretty well. So if your computer is like my Mac one, let me head over to my Mac and get me into Essentials. In my Mac computer, where I have a whole different resolution on my screen and it's based on my computer, notice that I'm seeing the layers just fine. I'm seeing documents, everything is much tinier, right? So it's all working. All my tools, see how well all my tools are showing? But on my VDI, I'm not seeing them. It's the same program, right? But I'm seeing less stuff. So then I have to be a bit more creative with my spaces. If you're seeing stuff like me, where things don't seem to fit, I'm going to ask you to grab this, layers, because we're going to use this layers a lot. Click on it. Once you click on it, it pops in, closing other stuff. And if you need more space, I'm going to have us grab these layers and put them in here. Not right now, but what this is going to do is if you put them in here, you're going to be able to click on something and it's going to pop up a window and then put it away. So it's kind of like a little quick pop-up to give you better access to the stuff that you want only temporarily versus the stuff. So if you decide I don't need these anymore, you can just put them in there, or you can eliminate them completely. Maybe you made a mistake and you drag this out. Let's go do that. Let's drag by clicking and dragging. You drag these out into the middle of the screen, or you grabbed your gradients and you messed up. So let's just mess our screen up a little bit. Or you went and opened a different window. Go to window and open one that doesn't even have a check mark on it. The check marks means they're already open. Let's go and open like our actions, for example. And then this opens up. So we're basically modifying our space in a way that's a mess. And you're like, aha, how do I even get back? This is crazy. I'm like, okay, good. That's why this is for. Let's head back to the workspaces and let's reset Essentials. Whew, we're kind of back at 0. Because a lot of times you need to do that. You need to mess things up, open things that aren't available, close them up, et cetera, et cetera. So for all of us to start at the same spot, let's go ahead and open Essentials, reset our Essentials, double click here on the word color so it collapses. In this case, I'm going to close a little bit of these guys because you see this little bottom little downwards arrow. When I click on that, it collapses. I'm going to go ahead and leave this open, but I'm going to like close my guys and I'm going to close my ruler and grids and close things. And then I'm going to click on layers so that I kind of end up having it about yay. This will be a good beginning spot for us. If you are able to do this well, give me a, hold on, I need a clear answer. Give me a yes. If something's not working for you or you have any specific questions, please let me know. I'm spending more time here because everything I'm doing right now is identical for all of the programs. All of the Adobe programs, Premiere, even the ones we're not opening, they handle themselves the same way as far as panels and windows and modification and workspace and all of that. So once you learn it here, it's a cinch. You got it down for all the other programs. I'm running out of time. So let me really quickly have us open something in Illustrator and in InDesign. Just see how similar what I just showed you is. And then next week, we'll just jump into making stuff. Okay. So let's head back to Bridge. Again, I'm using my taskbar or my dock in the case of Mac to head back to Bridge. Let's open an Illustrator file. So from the top down, the first AI that I have is this one. You'll see, for those of you who understand file management, there's an SVG here, well, the file formats, we'll talk about that later. So go to the second one of these little like red, green, and black things, which is called Big Outdoor Fire.ai. Notice that I do not have Illustrator open, so I'm going to double click on it, and it's going to start doing the little circle. Again, I'm in PDI, so it's going to take a while, but it's kicking Illustrator open. The slowness is just because VDI is slow. I'm going to stop my share so that this happens a little bit quicker behind the scenes. And meanwhile, I'm going to open the Illustrator on the Mac the same way. That way, I can keep demoing this before the time for the class is up. At first, I thought we had until 12:30, but I'm noticing now that I think this one is technically ending at 12:20, right? Is the schedule for this one?
Diane, I have a question.
Yeah, 12:20. Okay. Yeah.
So on when I double clicked it, I get a message from Adobe Illustrator, your current color
Current
setting.
color settings. Yeah. Just for now, that doesn't matter at all. Just say continue. Yeah.
Okay.
It's got to do with, yeah. Ignore it. I'll explain all of that later. Just we're just trying to just open a file now to just see it. So it doesn't matter. Let me share my screen again. So let me,
Actually in Photoshop.
what's that?
I don't know why.
Someone said something. What's that?
Mine opens, well, I just downloaded Illustrator, that might be why, but mine opens in Photoshop. So I think I need
There's
to
no
open
way an
Illustrator
AI
first.
file, there's no way an AI file opens in Photoshop. It's possible that you clicked on the SVG. So make sure to click on the one that's BigArtSoFar.ai. Okay. By the way, I didn't notice you were speaking when I was looking at the other screen. Who's speaking right now? Who's having that question? Is it Amber? No. Stephanie? Who's?
Cheyenne.
Oh, Cheyenne. Okay, there we go. I just wasn't.
Yeah, it was Cheyenne.
I'm sharing too many screens. My file is going crazy. I'm going to stop and share only Illustrator because it's like,
Oh, my Illustrator is still
Stopping.
installing, so. why?
yeah. Okay, so here we go. I'm in Illustrator. I want to honor the fact that it's 12:20, and if you have to go because you need to run off to some other appointment, I'm not going to teach a lot more. I'm just going to show these programs. So if you need to take off, yep, go ahead and watch that. I'm going to just spend a couple more minutes just showing opening the programs. That's it. And then we're going to work next week. And I know, Christina, you've already told me how much you do, so you've seen these before. All right. Let me share. I shared the wrong screen. Let me share my Illustrator, which is this one. All right. So here we are in Illustrator. And again, I want us to see that over here on the left file, we have the majority of our tools. On the right side, we're going to modify those tools. And I want us to set, again, go to our settings and choose essentials and make sure that we're all starting at that point, especially if you used it before. Anyway, I think if I were to open InDesign, the same thing will happen. So, and again, I don't like to do a lot of new stuff after class, so let me just not open InDesign for now. You guys open it on your own. Go to Bridge, open it up, something that's InDesign. So what would be an InDesign file? Let me share Bridge right now. An InDesign file, for example, I probably have them inside of folders. Let me see if I have an InDesign file out in the main set. No, to find an InDesign file that's a native InDesign file, let's head into, see, this is why I need to fix these files because I don't have, I have catch-up files and stuff from last class that I should have deleted. Anyway, let's head over to like the Creek Poster Summer 2022. And then in here, notice that I have some files here that say IDML or INDD or PDF. The INDD is an InDesign file, okay? Again, where did I go? I went into the folder called Creek Poster Summer, okay? The folder, not the file that says Creek. Double click on that. And there we go. That middle fold, the middle one did that INDD. IDML is also an InDesign file. We'll talk about that later, but the one we want is this one. Double click on that one, and that's going to kick up InDesign
to open up if you want to explore on your own. Right now, I'm going to not open it because class is technically over. Not technically, it is over. I'm just still here. Yeah, I think I have all the basics set up for everything to run smoothly. We don't really need to see InDesign right now to know that everything's working. For those of you who are left, just give that a try. Make sure that you open up each one of these programs at least once so that when we start next week, it's not the first time you've opened InDesign. You don't need to do anything in it, but make sure it's working, that it's linking, that the installation is good, that kind of thing. If it's working, you're ready to go for next class. We didn't get to put anything else on the Padlet, but we all have one Padlet in there, so I know you know how to use it. That's all for today. That's all, folks. Any questions, anything that you guys might clarify, or something that didn't work, or something burning question that you want to know? Are we going to cover this? Or I think I've done a lot of talking today. It's all going to be about doing and next class. The first day is so much set up. Most of my classes at this session have been about 4 or 5 hours. So in the first class, we get to do a lot. But when it's a 2.5 hour class, that's what it takes to get the whole thing started. So have a great weekend. Those of you who are going to go around egg hunting or bunny hopping, have a good time. And yeah, email me if you have any questions. And if you have any issues with installing the whole, Photoshop debacle, there's not much through College Buys. If you go wrong in some place and some things go wrong, I might be able to point you to help, but truly you need to reach out to College Buys tech support or Adobe tech support, not City College tech support, because they won't be able to help you, because that's really up to the people who sold you the program in Adobe. Okay, so just warning you. All right. Sayonara, have a great weekend, a great week for those of you that I won't see until Friday. And yeah, I hate saying goodbye when I'm sharing, and here I was still sharing. Have a good one. Bye, guys. So nice meeting you, Susan and Stephanie. I love having new faces join our classes. All right. See you guys.